How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Still.
Fenurian.
And Voxel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week. But first of all, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw. You can join us in our Discord chat server, where you can communicate with the show hosts and other listeners to the show anytime you want, and you can easily get to that Discord server by clicking on the link, which should be supplied in the description underneath the archive of this show.
Yes, indeedy.
Alternatively, you can go to vtwproductions.com and click on the show logo on any of our recent show posts.
Yes.
Yep.
If we have any recent show posts.
Yes. So,
You can get your butt in there and have Fern infect you with the Witchcraft Works ending in the music thread.
This is entirely your fault, and you can't say otherwise.
I did mention it to you, but you didn't have to link it and get it stuck in everybody's head.
I had to share the pain.
I actually was sort of I was thinking about it earlier this week, and I'm not really sure why.
Damn it. Alright.
Yeah. We were talking about the Switch, and so I said, which Switch? And I'm like, Witchcraft Works.
And there it goes. So you get... I've just to spread the pain, I've linked the ending song for it into the Discord, so you can enjoy watching anime girls get tortured and being incredibly happy about it. Why? I mean, that was a kind of a weird anime, but I don't remember anything about it other than the exit song.
I just remember Weech Weech.
Weech Weech. So yeah, I'm back after a holiday last week, which was... it was okay. Interesting.
Yeah, you were gone. Me and Vault only torpedoed the show a little bit.
Yep.
I don't even remember what we talked about last week.
It was not very organized.
It never is. It never is. So, on the stream today, as soon as I can actually get this thing to, do what it's told. There we go. Press that and that. There we go. I'm playing a bit of God Eater 3, which I'm not particularly good at. It's, in a nutshell, it's edgy anime Monster Hunter. And it really doubles down on the edge. Like, you make a new character and you can't actually make your character look not edgy. They've got to have the edgy face and the edgy hair. You
gotta play the prequel. The Dark Souls prequel in Code Vein.
Well, that game's edgy as well. I mean, you can... Yeah, okay, there are options later on. Actually, are they even there at creation to make your character not so edgy?
Okay. You can make a pretty little girl and put her in a plain t-shirt and nice skirt like I did. Or you can take the more fun route of de-edgifying your character, and you can just make things super huge that are technically supposed to be located like on your belt or something, or on your hat, and use those as in ways to give yourself like a giant beard that covers your whole head.
Yes.
Why?
Attack of the Killer Beard.
Every single little doodad and art asset and trinket you can put on the character in character creation can be placed anywhere on the character and scaled to any size within reason for a character model. But it can encompass the entire character model. So people have gotten very creative with taking the pre-canned assets and using them to make the characters look absolutely ridiculous, but still make it look like it kind of works.
Watching some of those in actual motion would be interesting.
Oh, it's hilarious when all the speedrunners have these pre-canned characters that's like just a beard scaled super huge, flipped upside down to make them look like they got the most ridiculous haircut in the world, and it flops all over the place with full physics. It's amazing.
Hair.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, dear. So, yeah, with God Eater, you don't have that choice. You just pick your face, you pick your hair, and you pick a voice, and that's about it. You do get to choose your costume, but you go with the companions and your default costume, and it's only what I could call duct tape chic. Like, everyone's got random bits of duct tape all over them. There's a character later on, I believe we'll actually see her in the stream, towards the end, where she's just got an entire sleeve, and that's just duct tape. I don't know why there is duct tape all over everything, but there is. It's just duct tape.
I see.
Yes, and because it's a Nippon Ichi game, there is of course boobage. So just be prepared for the commander when she makes an appearance on the stream.
There will be quite a bit of booby talk this week, I think.
We'll see how we go. We'll try and curb the boobs, but
well, boobs are already curved. We don't need to curve them more, Fern.
This is true. So yeah, I'm not going to go too deep into the story of God Eater 3 because, frankly, I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It sounds about right. It's like you're a Age, I believe they call it, which is an artificial God Eater or something. I don't know. They never actually explained that. Well, actually, they probably do because there's a whole archive where all this stuff is explained, but, I mean, who wants to read that? So... yeah, like you start off as some sort of indentured servant, and then your prison cell basically gets destroyed by the monsters, and you end up on a caravan with Commander Boobs. That's about as far as the story I've figured out. And the other bits is, of course, there are monsters. Go fight.
As I've mentioned in the past, I have in fact watched the anime. And I'm here to tell you, you're not missing much story-wise. Like, right. If that's at all reflective of what the story is like,
yep,
there's not really much to tell. It's one of those stories that sort of heavily implies that there's an awful lot going on in the background, but ultimately, it seems to boil down to there's magic goo.
Yeah.
And the magic goo takes over the world.
Yeah.
And then you fight the magic goo.
Yeah.
It's sentient magic goo or semi-sentient magic goo that eats stuff and becomes the stuff it eats.
Yeah, so just seeing the stream again, I forgot there is one way you can make your character not look edgy. There is actually quite a wide selection of mascot costumes you can wear, which is some sort of bear cat thing. It looks absolutely ridiculous, so... maybe I should have gone with that instead of just, doubling down the edge.
Honestly, Fern, if you're playing a God Eater game, based on what Vols told me about the story in the Animu, and your experience so far in the current game, and having played Code Vein, and being able to tell you it doesn't make a lick of sense, you can probably just turn the story off and turn on a podcast.
You pretty much could. And yeah, it's just, edge and nonsense. But still, the gameplay is fun. I'm not particularly good at it, and there's some basic control choices which are absolutely bizarre. Like, your basic block is an essential ability, but it's a 2-button input.
But why?
Yeah.
Why?
Reasons.
Why? What is... are they using the single presses all over the controller for something?
Yeah, all the buttons do something. I haven't figured out how the lock system works, by the way.
Lock systems are dangerous.
Yeah, in this case, it's kind of essential because monsters tend to move around. Or what are they? Origami. They tend to move around a fair bit, and the camera doesn't really behave itself. It tends to... it's not as bad as it was in God Eater 2, but it does tend to zoom in rather close still. So your field of vision can be a bit nyeh sometimes. Especially when your character starts flippity-floppying all over the place, depending on your weapon. Alright, so I'll just let that play through the show. I guess I'll just dive straight into my weeks, which has been, it's the trip to Brisbane. I was going to go down and watch a Monty Python show, but that didn't work out because, of course, on that night it rained. A lot.
Aw, and we told the viewers that you were going to see Ham and Jam and Spamalot.
Yeah, I was going to, but yeah, we got horribly rained on, and by the time we actually got to the theatre, we were too wet to go in. So that was fun.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we were drenched.
In Australia, no less.
Yes. It got extremely moist.
But...
moist. But it doesn't matter. Like, I'm probably in very good company here that I'm actually able to recall the entirety of the Holy Grail movie off by heart. So, you know, I'm not missing much anything.
I could at least get you most of the scenes if you gave me a prompt.
Yeah. Good old Monty Python. You have been memed to death. Seriously. Stop making Monty Python quotes at every opportunity, people.
No. Please keep making them. It's one of the few good pieces of comedy that's still in the mainstream.
This is true, actually, so carry on. So yeah, that ended up being a bust. I did get to have a look at a couple of video games. The one I played during most of my downtime was Luigi's Mansion 3, which I'm thoroughly enjoying.
Luigi,
it's, the good Mario brother. So there is an awful lot of polish on this, on that game. They've taken a lot of time just to make things look nice and make all the animations look nice until you get to the elevator, where you need to gather up all the various elevator buttons and how you unlock a new floor. In which case you will see the same animation maybe 30 times. Other than that, though, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Luigi's Mansion 2 I found to be a very big disappointment, namely because they got rid of what was called the portrait ghosts, which are your big boss ghosts that had unique mechanics and kind of a bit of a unique personality. That was all gone in Luigi's Mansion 2, and I don't know why. They brought them back for 3, but they're kind of a floor boss this time around, instead of, just being able to walk around the mansion and just find one in a room. So, you generally involve one floor is centered around chasing one ghost around this haunted hotel. What they actually call a floor in a hotel is very open to interpretation. Like, you've got your restaurant floor, you've got your shopping floor, you've got your rooms, you've got your museum, you've got your ancient Egyptian tomb, you've got your greenhouse, and so on. One floor is just a castle, a straight up full-on castle. How they got it in there, I have no idea. So,
I see.
Not sure really what there is to say about it. I think you've got this dual character mechanic with Gooigi, where you can basically walk around whenever you run into a certain puzzle that involves squeezing through tight gaps or something like that. You spawn Gooigi and just kind of do that. So you've got Luigi and Gooigi on opposite sides of the room pressing switches and things. Honestly, that gets tedious really quickly. Because a lot of it is just, it's busy work for the case of busy work. And this goes double in the inevitable sewer level, where you've got Luigi in a rubber ducky tube and Gooigi running around pressing switches.
Why does everybody want to have a sewer level?
I don't know. It does actually finish in one of the strangest boss fight, which is an inner tube battle. Like, Luigi and the ghost are zooming around in this tank, both on rubber ducky tubes. It makes no sense.
I see.
But it is a very good game. That's really all there is to say about it, though. It is a Nintendo product, so it is... It is what it is, I guess. It's just nothing really worth talking about. It's a game. It's functional, and it's fun. Go do it.
It's like the Disney movie of video games.
Yes. And thankfully, you get to see Mario eat some crap at the start of the game, and he's just gone for the rest of the game. Not actually literally, but...
It sounds like you have some pent-up resentment against Mario.
Nobody likes Mario. Honestly, nobody likes Mario.
I kind of like Mario.
No, you
just
don't.
Because everybody hates Mario, and everybody loves Luigi now.
Luigi actually has a personality. And people's feelings about Peach, admittedly, are mixed because she kind of spent an entire game going through menopause. I'm not joking.
Yeah. Check people and explode with her butt.
Yeah, that's also a thing. So, yeah, that's fun. a good time killer. It's not overly short. Like the first Luigi's Mansion was actually quite short when you really got down to it. Luigi's Mansion 2 dragged things out unnecessarily, though. Especially the stairs. And anyone who's actually played the game to the end knows exactly what I'm talking about. Those freaking stairs.
I never made it very far into the game.
Yeah. Alright, well, at the end of Luigi's Mansion 2, there is this enormous flight of stairs, and it's kind of got these platforms and ledges all the way up it. It's just ridiculously huge. But as you climb up it, bits will flatten out and turn into a ramp, which will send you straight to the bottom. Or if you're very lucky, you'll catch onto one of the ledges. There is absolutely no way to tell which bits will flatten out and which bits won't. It took me 2 hours to climb this stupid set of stairs.
You didn't just look up a guide or something?
I should have, but I kind of started doing it after about 15 minutes. It just kind of devolved into sheer bloody mindedness.
Because it gets to a point with crap like that where I'm just like, all right, YouTube, what's going on?
Yeah.
How do I fix this?
This is just pointless time wasting now. Yeah. I can't even remember what the final boss was for Luigi's Mansion 2. Like, I'm pretty sure it was King Boo in some variation. But I can't honestly remember. All I can remember is those stupid stairs and everything being annoying and tedious. And having absolutely no personality. Although apparently it is part of the main canon now that Luigi now has a dog. A ghost dog, but a dog. Alright, as for other games, I got to see a little bit of that new Star Wars Jedi game in action. And I was expecting Uncharted, and there is a bit of Uncharted in there, particularly with the climbing mechanics, but I know this is going to sound terrible and cliche, but it's kind of Soulsy.
It's not... I don't like Souls as a comparison, but Sekiro is definitely a very good comparison.
The combat is extremely parry-focused, so Sekiro works a lot better.
It does not have a game feel that reminds me of Souls, but it has a game feel that reminds me very much so of Sekiro.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the same thing. They're both FromSoft.
Yeah, there's a lot of verticality in the environments. It's actually to the game's detriment quite a bit that it tries to mimic Sekiro because its exploration does not have the same kind of zippy verticality that Sekiro does, but it still has that vertical level design.
Yeah, you do get later on, you get climbing claws, which makes the verticality a lot less tedious.
But it's not a grappling hook.
No, everything is made better with the grappling hook.
Yeah, the grappling hook effectively makes it so you can teleport to the top of whatever area you're in Sekiro if there's stuff up there to be gotten.
Yeah. So, yeah, the exploration's kind of, again, Souls-like, I guess, in terms of just how worlds are laid out. But from what I can tell, once you get through an area and you've discovered the secrets and as you go along, there's absolutely no point in going back to previous areas once you unlock new abilities.
Well, yeah, you will always unlock new abilities because this game follows the same type of Metroid style the Soul series did. So you will get new upgrades, and you'll have to go back to planets to see where that unlocks stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe I missed something, but I didn't play it all that much, so... Still, it's actually surprisingly good. EA actually made a good single-player game.
Yeah.
And
remember when they said those were dead?
And it's based in the original canon.
What kind of feeling did you get? You got to the first planet, right?
I did not, actually. I was kind of about halfway through fighting the big owl beast boss.
Okay, did you get to the swamp planet?
Yeah, that's where the owl beast is, I recall.
Okay. Because that planet, just when you first step out of your ship after the prologue and you get on that planet, you're just like, the music kicks in and is like, they did Star Wars right.
They did Star Wars right.
It just feels so Star Wars, getting off your little ship and getting on that little sunny swamp planet.
Yes. They did so many things just right. Like, it's not murderously difficult like the Souls or Sekiro is, but it'll still challenge you.
If you go to Dantooine right after it becomes available, it is.
Yeah, don't do that.
Oh, you can do that. It's like, this plan is going to be a little challenging, but we'll open it up for you before you go to your first big major full planet.
Yeah, you can go do this if you want.
I mean, I did because I hate myself. And you can get the double-bladed lightsaber before the first planet, which is incredibly helpful.
From what I can tell as well, you don't really increase in power all that much. Like, there's a few abilities and things you can pick up, and a few skills you can socket, but nothing huge.
I'm here to tell you, getting a little bit more force to be able to force slow somebody for another round of chain force slowing it is a big power boost.
Fair enough. So, yeah. EA, you did a good. Do more good.
No, I'm sure they'll just forget.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to.
Well, I say that cynically, but it sounds as if that they have sort of initiated a subtle kind of reorganization of a couple of their studios around the premise that there's this one studio that made a game that was actually successful and didn't make everyone hate us.
Yeah,
and they've taken people from there to basically go and preach the good word at their other studios that are flagging a bit.
Honestly, I'm half expecting anything along that line to involve a bell, a book, and a candle. So
yeah,
EA's actually done something right for once, and I'm not going to actually believe I'm saying this, but go give EA your money.
It's now. One thing I do want to point out about the game is, especially if you take the Sekiro comparison I gave earlier, and you translate that into the gameplay as well, which also feels very much so like they're trying to crib from Sekiro, because that's what they did for this game.
Essentially,
They cut Sekiro out, and they're like, this would be really cool. Let's put Star Wars skin on it and try and make the mechanics from scratch ourselves. The problem is, some of the mechanics just don't work very good. I mentioned them when I talked about it when I first played it. The biggest one is you cannot disengage from enemies.
Nope.
And this is a problem in an exploration-based game where you don't have a whole lot of mobility to begin with.
Yeah, so if you get in trouble, you're supposed to run away, but you can't.
Especially on maps that are highly vertical, like a good chunk of the ones in Star Wars are. Mm-hmm. You will just roll off a cliff. So you just have to kind of nut up and take it. And this is not how this type of combat is meant to be played with this type of enemy design and layout. You need to be able to get the enemies to leave you the F alone if you can disengage from them.
Yeah.
But you can't really do that.
So yeah, it's definitely not perfect, but considering EA's usual fare, it's a massive step up.
Yeah, if you want to send a message to EA that they didn't screw it up, you're safe giving your money to this one. But it's still just them copying Sekiro and doing it worse.
Yeah.
As far as the video game part of the video game goes.
My concern is that they're going to end up taking the wrong message and think the message is, we just have to copy different genres and put new skins on them.
Isn't that not even 50% of the games industry these days?
Well,
yes.
Star Wars is a special case in that they cribbed so hard from Sekiro. Clearly, whoever was doing the design document had just finished playing it the night before.
Yeah,
like it's not even funny how much they steal from Sekiro.
Yeah, like I played a little bit and I'm kind of, this feels like FromSoft game. This is Sekiro, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm playing Star Wars Sekiro.
People like to try and compare it to Dark Souls, but that's just objectively wrong. It does not have anything close to the same feel as a Souls game. So, but yeah, it's just, it doesn't, if you've played like Sekiro or something like Sekiro, you're going to get into this game and be like, this combat's really clunky.
Thankfully, I haven't actually played Sekiro, so I didn't have the full comparison.
Yeah, it was a real hard thing to jump to after playing that.
I'm pretty sure I heard that the sequel is already under development, so I guess we'll find out in due course what lessons they took from their success.
Yeah.
Just fix Cal's underbite. Like,
Yeah,
his underbite drives me bananas.
This is like, Homestar Runner level type underbite. It's what's going on here.
He's got his mouth open all the damn time, and he just has a constant underbite where you can see his lower jaw jut over his top teeth.
Stop it.
It just makes him look handicapped in the brain.
Oh dear.
I can't say the R word, but the R word is what he looks like.
Yeah. Makes him look like he's taken one too many uppercuts to the jaw, honestly.
Yeah.
What are they going for? Are they going for like the sort of American superhero ultra square jaw, like the Tick?
No, he just looks like he's got bad genetics.
I think they were kind of trying to go for that, but somewhere along the way they just got lost.
It kind of works for the type of character they're selling, and that he's just this random dude who was a Jedi and had to stop being a Jedi when everybody got shot.
Yeah.
And so he's out of practice. I do like that they don't go ham with the Force powers. They give him what a normal Force user in the original trilogy would reasonably be able to do.
Yeah, like you got Force push, Force pull, you've got the leap, you got your lightsaber throw, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, very simple stuff. You're not channeling Force lightning out your fingertips. You're not pulling down planets or stopping whole Star Destroyers from crashing into the ground.
Speaking of, there was a point where I had nothing to do down in Brisbane, and we thought, hey, let's go watch a movie. So we had Oscar bait, some cringy romance thing, and Star Wars. Honestly, the Oscar bait was more appealing.
Yeah, you could have just pulled up Jeremy John's page and just look for the first video or the first movie he's got on his review list that says "Good time, no alcohol required," and go watch that instead.
Yeah, I think we actually ended up just sitting down and watching BattleBots instead, because nerds fighting robots is always fun to watch. So yeah, aside from those, like there's a trip to the zoo, but that's that's not really worth talking about on a show about games. So that's pretty much all I really did. It was a very quiet trip away, and it was just nice to disconnect for a while and not deal with people, sort of.
Goes on trip to see friends and go to shows. Is happy he doesn't have to deal with people. What are your friends? Maybe we do need to hear about this trip to the zoo. Is that you taking them home?
They are possibly imaginary. I am not going to confirm or deny that. So yeah, my job is basically people. People I'd really rather not deal with half the time. So yeah. Anywho, I will leave my week there. I didn't honestly do a whole lot of video gaming through it. Just a lot of loafing. So, Vol, you're up, sir.
I'm afraid I don't have anything to say whatsoever because I joined team go to work, come home, eat, go to sleep this week.
Yay!
Because as seems to be the custom now, the powers that be just assume that the beginning of year is going to be quiet and have no method of reacting when it invariably turns out not to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
So I end up doing 11-hour shifts. I just don't have the energy to do anything.
Frankly, the stories you tell, I am amazed that company hasn't gone under.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly is keeping it afloat because it seems to be run in such an asinine fashion, and I don't know. Maybe it's just that they cut so many corners and skin off so much of the places where you would normally send money to do things properly, like pay your staff properly and don't exploit them, and you do things correctly using the correct materials instead of trying to take shortcuts all the time. And like I don't know,
machinery's working properly.
Like they never ever hire enough people to do the work that needs to be done, and they have an idiotic method of deciding what sorts of work to take on and how they're going to pay to get it done. But maybe they are just cutting so many corners that they can keep putting money in the bank and justifying their continued existence. But yeah, it's pretty much a nightmare for anybody who actually works there amongst the the people who do the work as opposed to the people who pretend to work.
Yes.
But as far as I can tell, there's an awful lot of people who are looking for work elsewhere, and the business unit's boss claimed that we had a good year, but I don't really see a good year reflected in a 1/3 staff turnover.
No, that's a good sign of a bad year.
Yeah, well, he doesn't agree, but that's because he never shows up to work and doesn't have any idea what goes on in that building. So,
if the numbers went up, it was a good year, folks.
That's the only thing he cares about, as far as I can tell, is making sure that he presents a spreadsheet to his boss that allows him to not get fired. So, yeah, it's been a major suppressing influence on my existence this week. So I haven't really done anything. I've just done a little bit of farming for the FGO event, and generally speaking, dreading the next event because Setsubun's a brutal, brutal event. That's what its reputation is. There's a brief prelude beforehand where all of the training grounds, all of the ember farming stages, they're all open at once because you need to. You need them available in order to be prepared for what's about to follow, which is the most grueling example of a grind fest known to mankind. Although that's not even strictly true, since it's throttled by the fact that you can't use a servant twice in a row, since they go on cooldown for 4 hours after you use them.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to basically go absolutely bonkers while the ember farming is open and the training grounds are open, so that you can level up all your bronzes and silvers to be usable and clear all the easy stages using bronze and silver servants. So, yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. It sounds really
enjoy
brutal.
grind, because we've got some grind to put in your grind.
Even though I went out of my way several months ago to get all my gold servants to max level, I just don't want to do what you're talking about. It sounds awful.
From all accounts, it's like, well, it's not. When you look at the public opinions on particular events, the one that people always say is awful is the Sunzone going to the West event, because it's just really grindy in that you just tap a stage, do the stage, tap it again, do it again, tap it again, do it again, until you run out of AP, then eat an apple and do it all over again. That's the entirety of the event, is just spamming stages. There's no other bits to it to make it interesting. And then when you're done with that, it unlocks a bunch of new stages and you do it all again. But in this one, instead of being upset at it being bad or grindy, the comments just have this sort of like haunted, traumatized cast to them. It's like they aren't mad about the event, they're just sort of like afraid to think about it in case it hears them.
You had that meme running around last time it came up from Naruto, like dropping meteors on top of meteors.
I don't remember what you're talking about. But yeah, so it's currently there's a similar one planned for the Japanese server at the moment, while we're doing Setsubun, which they had 2 years ago. Of course, they're getting a new event of this type with the 200 floor challenge tower.
Oh my.
Apparently it's pretty common for people to only clear the last stage as the event is finishing. Like, I saw a whole bunch of posts of people for whom the event finished while they were doing the boss stage. So, yeah.
Does it actually give rewards in that case, or does it just?
That's the thing. That's the reason why it's a problem. The reason why it's a problem is that all of the best awards are in the very top.
Yep.
The very last few stages. So you've got to push all the way through if you want your gold foos.
Cleo hit 2,000 now, 2,000 eventually. There's no rush.
There's a limit on them for those of us who don't just pull gold servants like they're going out of fashion. So, yeah. So yeah, that's that. I've done all of the stuff that I regard as mandatory for the Da Vinci rerun, though. Like, I've got enough manuscripts saved up to get all of the gold foos, I've got the laws from it. I finished the challenge quest to my surprise, because I tried it twice because the first time I just made a meme comp centered around just throwing Kiyohime at the wall and seeing what was stuck.
Yeah, but
that's
would have worked surprisingly well.
The thing is, in this case, I had to use Kyozurka because the Lancer wasn't great. It didn't have great compatibility with the challenge in question. Although, in retrospect, I probably could have used her if I wanted to. It just would have made things a bit harder. But the problem with using Kyozurka is that if you get a couple of bad decks of command face cards in a row, it screws everything up. Because realistically, Kyozurka is just not a good servant and is very sensitive to things not appearing when you want them to. So, that didn't go so well. She did do a lot of damage out the gate and then just completely ran out of steam, and I couldn't seem to get any NP gen going after that. The whole plan fell apart. The second time round, I based the comp around, who did I use? Iliasville. I basically had Iliasville and BB, and everybody else was a support.
Right.
So BB was in like the last slot and Iliasville was in the first slot, and everybody between the two was a support servant. And basically I used Ilia to beat up all of the supporting stuff for Jolta, who was the boss. And then eventually, one by one, they all died to monstrous Jolta crits, and BB popped in, and then BB completely savaged Jolta.
Yeah.
Like, BB doesn't have a lot of applications, but when there is something that is vulnerable to the way she fights, it's toast.
Doesn't she get an advantage against Avengers as well?
Yeah, she's advantage against Avengers. She's not an ideal partner for a Noble Phantasm loop comp. She's sort of a hybrid between Arts crit and NP spam, because she charges NP for the entire party when she finishes her NP.
Nice.
So but her kit is built around crit. So in that sense, she sort of like, she halfway fits the crit archetype, halfway fits the Noble Phantasm archetype, and ideally I'd say her best partner is probably Sherlock, who I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
But she worked well enough in the context that I had her, which was, I think by the end I finished with BB Mash Merlin, I think, and that actually worked quite well in the end, because it just kept her Noble Phantasm ticking over, so I could just chunk bar after bar, and because there were so many arts cards flying about, Mash was able to prevent most of the incoming damage, because, you know, Jolta does damage to you with stats primarily. With both Merlin and Mash on the field, she wasn't going to land her Noble Phantasm, but that turn damage that Jolta dishes out was the thing that was a killer. But being able to use Lord Camelot every couple turns really, really evened that out, and so I was able to clear it without using any command seals, despite not really having formed a very coherent plan. But I don't think that there's really anything else. I haven't even finished my second playthrough of Trails in the Sky Episode 1. I'm up to the last dungeon. I probably would have made more progress if it wasn't for the being sent back to the sewers multiple times at the end of that game. Because I hate sewer levels. And you have to go there 3 times.
Why?
Like, I don't know why. There's something about sewers. People designing JRPGs just go hog wild when they get the opportunity to make a sewer dungeon.
I think we should... If anyone starts reading a design document and there's the mention of a sewer level, the immediate response should be, you're fired.
I'm here to tell you, as somebody whose work involves the sewer level repeatedly throughout their life, as, you know, the way you make money, I don't want to see that in my video game. No, I get enough of that in real life.
There are very rarely actual Metroidvanias in a sewer hole.
I'm here to tell you, if you can stand up in the sewer, you're doing pretty good for yourself. That's a pretty good work environment.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, you're hunched in there.
Yep. Stop making sewer levels, people. Nobody wants them. Probably the worst cliche ever. All right. I believe we actually have the beginnings of a new anime season at the moment.
Yeah, but I've legitimately not seen anything that strikes me as remotely interesting.
Let me see.
At all.
I haven't even properly looked at it yet because I've been going back and having a look at some of the previous stuff and finishing off old stuff. Let's see. My anime for this current season. What are we? Winter. Let's see. Not seeing anything really jumping out to me here. Oh dear. Except for that. Isekai Quartet 2.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet. I intend to.
Yeah. Like that. The first season was just complete nonsense.
But Shield Bro's in it now, so...
Is he? Let me see. Is he actually on the... Oh, they don't have him on the splash art.
Good old Shieldy Boy and Raccoon Girl.
But yeah, there he is. So yeah, they added Shieldy Boy. Everyone's wearing top hats in this splash art. Why? No, never mind. That's a silly question.
Are we getting a new season of Shieldy Boy this year?
Don't think they've announced one. They don't think they've announced a season for it yet, but maybe they are.
The anime's it's not quite caught up to the manga yet, but it's pretty close. So they might need to wait for the manga to spool out.
Oh no, they have a freaking light novel, dude. That's already done.
Yeah, it's not based on the manga.
Yeah, the light novels.
The web novel's done too. Like the light novels are based on the web novel.
True.
So the story's been done for like ever.
So yeah, we might get it then. But just going down the list in the MAL, it's a very, very brief season compared to the last one.
Hiroaka's been doing pretty good.
The feels.
I haven't been keeping up with it. Every time I start keeping up with it, I get distracted by something, and it doesn't happen.
Probably best you do all that one in one hit because it will whack you in the feels.
There is a billion penis jokes to make about Hard Boy's moment.
Yeah, let's not.
Like, I can't just pick one, so I'll just mention that there are a billion of them as the joke.
Yeah.
But it's a really good scene.
It is such a cool moment, though, and you're ruining it with penis jokes.
I mean,
I know they write themselves, but still.
I mean, Hard Boy just... He can get it back up after he's already blown his load at the start of the fight.
No.
He can come in to save the day.
I've read the about 90% of this arc in the manga, I think. So I know roughly how the story goes. It's just I don't remember the fine-grained details, but I do remember the scene that you're talking about. I just wish you weren't trying to drag it through the mud like this. But,
let's see.
The subsequent seasons of Shield Hero have been announced at the Crunchyroll Expo of all places, but they haven't given any details on exactly when or how many episodes.
Crunchyroll probably went out of their way to make sure it didn't get out so they can bury the show, because they're probably still salty about that.
They got to promote Guardians for highs.
They've been keeping extremely quiet about that. According to the people who were employed to do the quote animation unquote, it wrapped production quite a while ago now.
Yep.
But they have not said a word about it. I would like to think that's because they perceive that there's not only is there nobody interested, but most people find it offensive because it reminds them what they're actually doing with the money that they get. But what I would expect is that it will quietly get slipped into a season sometime this year, and they'll just try not to make too much noise about it. Like, there'll be a note on that email that they send around every week that nobody reads, and that'll be about it.
Yeah, like there was a right way and a wrong way to pitch that series. They went the absolute wrongest way.
No, there was no right way to pitch that series. Period.
Well, true.
Because they functionally embezzled the money for it,
mm-hmm.
and everybody knows it.
They broke the contract.
Yeah, I mean, having an announcement trailer that didn't scream "We have embezzled the money" would have been the right way, and that's about as right as it
gets. But the thing is that the only way that they can make an anime is if they embezzle money, because that's not what the money they received is supposed to be for. It was promised that they would put it back into the Japanese industry, not so that they could do some in-house bullcrap.
Yeah,
especially some in-house Cal Arts bulldonkey. Almost did it.
Yeah, it's. I've seen some of the material that they were throwing around, but it's just awful. And apparently, I've seen an awful lot of stuff floating around social media on that rebooted Thundercats lately. Apparently, there were a lot of people who had not known that it was getting another reboot, because there was a previous reboot which was quite well received but got cancelled for no reason.
It was actually quite good. I've watched some of that.
But the new one, a lot of people didn't know it existed, and a lot of people have been kicked right in the childhood, so there was an awful lot of outrage about it.
Yeah, it's like they ruined Teen Titans with Teen Titans Go. But even that has more merits than what they're doing to Thundercats. Ugh.
I remember seeing something about it and being offended by seeing it, and then I pretended it didn't exist, and you just reminded me it existed.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm actually seeing nothing at all. Oh dear, Nekopara.
That's like, if you want your parents to be ashamed of you, I think was the way that Seth put it.
I think you just click on that, and next thing you know, you're in jail. That's probably the safest way to do things, I think.
Deeply alarming in every respect.
Yeah, just stop it and go to jail.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah, just go straight to jail.
What I'm actually anticipating this season, as far as anime goes, is on February the 6th, the Konosuba movie will start screening in New Zealand. And it's apparently one of the nominated cinemas is like 10 minutes walk down the road.
What was that?
Oh, it was a raccoon attacking Ari live on stream.
That was something falling off my desk. I'm trying to see what fell.
It was the raccoon. All right. I'm so annoyed. I would like to actually go and watch Konosuba movie, but I live in the sticks.
I know the story because I have the book, and it's got some really Kazuma moments.
Maybe I'll just go and watch season 2 again, and think about what could have been.
Oh my. But yeah, it's the story is quite enjoyable. It's unbelievably silly. It's I think it's very slightly raunchier than the previous material, but only by a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's
Can they make Aqua any more Aqua?
The Aqua's really a bit out of focus in the story, comparatively speaking, because the story is primarily about Megumin.
Yep. Which is nice, because it means the shrieking will stop for a moment.
It means more explosions.
So, there's absolutely nothing worth watching in this anime series. Although I have to say, Black Clover's just keeps on upping the ante.
Yeah, I haven't watched this week's episode, but they really just seem to have decided that there is no ceiling to the amount of sort of general raising of the stakes that they're planning on doing. It's just they're going to keep jacking it up.
In that case, I won't spoil it too much, but I will say they jacked it up again.
I don't know how much more room there could possibly be to raise the stakes.
To be fair, we were saying that a year ago, and they've just keep raising the stakes since.
I guess like they've had the opportunity to see all the other shonens and how they've done their build up and whatnot, and they've just decided to dispense with the slow burn and crank it all the way up.
Yeah, let's just bulldozer our way through everything.
Yeah, like Namek this ain't. Most fights get resolved within the span of an episode or an episode and a half.
Yeah.
And then they go on to an even bigger fight immediately afterwards.
Or we'll go over and see what somebody else is doing, and Yeah, they're full on hype mode at that point. So yeah, honestly, it's just shonen being the absolute most shonen it possibly can be. And that's not a bad thing. Anything else for your week, sir? Do you really want to talk about tower waifus?
I could talk about tower waifus. I mean, I'm not. I downloaded it and I poked at it to see how it operates, but I don't really have any strong intention of playing it. It's basically there's another gacha game. It's not really anchored to any particular concept as such, other than sort of like or I suppose all of the characters are inspired by some animal or mythical creature or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not really anchored to any particular concept. But it's basically another gacha game that is structured as tower defense, and your gacha characters are called operators, and they come in as a variety of, I think, like 8 different classes that have different functions and emphases, and you basically deploy them on a tower defense route. And they've got various abilities that you'll activate, and you can withdraw them and then redeploy them and so on. It's pretty standard tower defense, but people who like tower defense seem to think it's pretty good. I've just poked around at it to see how it operates. It's another Yostar game, so in layout, it feels to me like an improved version of Girls Frontline in terms of how it's executed, not in terms of tower defense mechanics, since Girls Frontline isn't tower defense, but generally speaking, it feels like a slightly better game. Like it's like a better version of Girls Frontline. Like if Girls Frontline had these mechanics, I would probably still be playing it a bit more, as opposed to where I just currently stuck it on the back burner because the gameplay itself wasn't interesting enough to keep my attention. Whereas, for instance, Azure Lanes was. So I decided to play that alongside FGO. I'm no good at tower defense, though. I don't have the sort of mind required to see how those sort of puzzles sort of click together and the mechanism will work, several minutes down the line as the level goes on. But it's interesting enough. The art is nicer than Girls Frontline. The UI execution is a little bit cluttered, but not as labyrinthine as Girls Frontlines was. And generally speaking, it seems like an interesting game that has a lot of depth and a lot of strategies available to it. The gacha is apparently slightly more friendly than Girls Frontline, slightly more friendly than FGO, a lot less friendly than Azure Lane, which Azure Lane, you never need to put any money into it if you don't want to.
It's hard to be less friendly than the FGO gacha.
Yeah, the FGO gacha is sort of notorious for being unfriendly. But this has... they've taken the approach of like, the really, really low star ratings are sort of like, there's something like 2 1-stars, so you've got to be really unlucky to actually get them sort of thing, and there's like 5 2-stars or something, and everything else is 3 through 6 stars.
What's the point of having the lower stars then? They're just joke characters, I suppose.
Filler pretty much.
Yeah.
Because you use quite large squads from what I've seen. And because you're going to be deploying things, if and when you need to a given level and moving them into particular places. And low ranked things, you can. The advantage of a low ranked one is that much like an FGO, a low star rating character doesn't take many points to deploy. But in the case of this tower defense game, basically you generate the points required to spend for deployment over time, and if you needed to stick someone in a place very suddenly to deal with a threat that had developed, or you needed a tiny bit of extra DPS to prevent you losing control of a particular area or something like that, and you just didn't have enough deployment points available to deploy something heavy hitting, you could jam in a low star rating one just to push you over the edge.
Yep.
So there is a strategic use for them, but that's all in theory. It's not like I've exactly played the game at length. Like I did the tutorial, that's about it. The newbie banner does offer a guaranteed 6-star, and so I'm currently, before attempting to do the next few levels, I'm going through it and re-rolling to get one that I like. But the 6 stars are apparently, based on the opinions I've seen, they are designed to be broken and OP, and everything else is on sort of a normal curve of power, but the 6 stars are designed to be OP. There are not very many of them. They've got at best a 2% chance of you pulling them. And generally speaking, they are ridiculously expensive to deploy, but will shape the overall strategy that you use. But it seems like an interesting enough game for people who want like a mobile tower defense game with waifus in it. Although it's not strictly waifus in this case, there are not very many, a handful of male characters who mostly seem to fall into traditional male character archetypes, like they'll either Bishonen or beefcakes sort of thing. But mostly, like 95% of the cast look like they are waifus. So
yeah, waifus everywhere.
Don't really have much else to say on that topic either. Maybe if I decide to throw a little bit more time in it to see what it's like, maybe then I'll have more to say next week. But that really depends on the work conditions, how they will proceed next week.
Yeah.
I really need more people to come back from leave. I keep getting more jobs because they're on leave. Oh, well.
Yeah, I don't know. I might try that one out. Like, I don't mind tower defense, although the genre can be notoriously dry and bland sometimes. Like, if the game doesn't have enough interesting things to keep it going. For some people, waifus is enough to do that. It's not for me, because waifus always make me feel kind of creepy. So, no, I don't know. I'll have a look.
Yeah, like when it comes to these gacha games, these waifu games, like I play FGO because I'm a fanatic about that universe.
Yeah.
Azure Lane, it's got waifus in it, but I like the sort of the simplicity of the actual gameplay mechanics combined with the sheer quantity of customizability of things that you can shift your equipment around and do different types of teams, different combinations, different synergies, different types of weapons with different ammo types and that. And you've got a lot of flexibility to build out the fleets the way you want, which I find interesting and engaging. But like I said, Girls Frontline was too simplistic. There is a lot of tactical depth there, but most of it exists at a level of subtlety that you would have to be really, really, really into it in order to really engage with. And other than that, it's just basically a waifu game, and that's pretty much all that it has to it. I feel like, generally speaking, that it's got a better story than Azure Lane as far as I've seen, and the Azure Lane story is very, very sparse, and you've got to sort of infer most of what's going on. But mechanically, it doesn't have enough of its own unique character for me to engage with it. But this one, like, I can see that there's a lot of possible tactical depth. There's a lot of like different ways you could build teams in Arknights, and a lot of tactical flexibility with 8 different classes that are functionally different, as opposed to just having types like an FGO. And it looks like a lot of them have like as many as 3 different abilities that you can deploy as well. They're not just limited to, auto attacking or anything like in a lot of tower defense archetype games. So yeah, it looks like there's a bit of interesting depth to it. I just don't think that I've got the time to engage with it, because FGO I'm sort of committed to, and Azure Lane is my more casual one.
Yep.
But what I have heard about this one is that while the 6 stars are game breakers, they are literally game breakers. And I watched a YouTube video by a guy who had decided that he was going to create one account because he was playing on the Chinese server, because it's originally a Chinese game, being a Yostar game. He had done one account where he invested $200 in funny money and had a tricked out team, and one where he just did free to play. And in fact, he re-rolled until he got the worst possible combination to start with. And he said he had way more fun with the low star rating one, because the one which he had invested money in was so overpowered that he would just cause the enemies to evaporate. So this is a 2-pronged issue. On the one hand, that means that you don't need to invest money to enjoy it, because the bulk of the sort of the tactical fun of building a team and strategy that are effective comes from the use of the more lower rarity conventional units. But on the other hand, you need to think about how a gacha game courts business. They court business by getting people to spend money. The people that spend money are the people with lots of high star rarity units. And if they get bored, you're going to see power creep.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the thing. Because if they go, and when I say that, either they're probably power creep along both sides, and that the challenge events that are likely to come out in the future for people with a population of people who have a lot of 6 stars are going to be ones where, you know, the challenges are ridiculously difficult, like, you know, Gilfest Kiara or something like that, you know, where almost nobody in the player base except for the whales have the resources to build a team powerful enough to get through it. Or alternatively, they're going to just make the next set of 6 stars redonkulously powerful to the point that they render a lot of extant units, you know, redundant. But yeah, so that when you start off with a power discrepancy like that between your top units and your lower tier ones, it can create future problems even if it doesn't create initial ones.
All right. So with that, it's probably time to take a break.
Yep. So here's some music, folks. We'll be back in just a minute. And we're back.
Yes, indeedy. So I think that's about it for Vols Week this week.
Yeah, I'm just trying to spam re-roll until I can get the 6-star that I want at this point.
Oh no.
All right.
There's only like 6, I think, available in the rookie gacha, and you're guaranteed to get one, and you only have to play about 10 minutes of tutorials first. So if you do want to just re-roll to get the one that you think is the coolest, it's quite easy to do compared to most gacha where they try and discourage you heavily from doing it.
Yep. Sometimes even locking you out of it entirely in some games.
Yeah, I got lucky and I got Emiya and FGO, which is the one that I wanted since I felt that he was the most flexible for the early game. But Azure Lane does not in any way assist you with this process. However, there's also no reason to do it in Azure Lane since, there's like a 6% chance of getting a super rare. So there's no need to worry about that. And they throw super rares around like nobody's business in Azure Lane. Like, they've given away so far, during the time I've been playing, I have gotten as giveaways Prince Eugen, I got Enterprise, Belfast, Illustrious, who else? It's quite a few, actually. I've gotten Noshiro and Suruga. No, not Suruga. At any rate, there are lots of them.
Yeah.
And so, if you want to play Azure Lane, I would recommend never worrying about what you roll, because eventually you're going to roll something. Also, there's a much weaker relationship between rarity and power in Azure Lane. An even weaker relationship between rarity and usefulness. Leander is ridiculously commonly used. Cassim and Downs are both also ridiculously commonly used, and they're all the most common peasant tier ships available in that game. So that game is really friendly on the rarity level. This one just makes it easy to re-roll your first one, but I haven't seen enough breakdowns of overall tiers of power to determine whether or not this game has really heavily tiered units, where there are a lot of useless ones and a lot of good ones, or what. Because in FGO everybody likes to say, well, anytime you bring up the question of tiers of power, people like to say, oh, every servant is usable. But no, there are some that you just have to really, 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 really work hard to get any use out of whatsoever. It's entirely possible to use Saber Gi. He's not awful when he's in a team built around him. However, you would be mad to do so.
there's so many better options to use than Saber Gi, or even Caster Gi for that matter.
Well, the reason why I say Saber Gi is because there aren't a ton of options. There are no in the EN server. There are no 1-star sabers, and there are no 2-star sabers. So that means that you've got Caesar and Fergus and Gi.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I'm not sure if there are any others, because Bedivere is story locked.
Yeah, Bedivere is story locked. Let me see.
Because given those choices, there's nothing wrong with Caesar and Fergus. They are quite usable, but yeah.
Here we go. Let's see. You've got Saber Gi, you've got Fergus, you've got Fattest Saber, Bedivere story locked, and you got Jason, I suppose, but I don't think he's out in the EN yet.
He won't be out for 2 years.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're using Jason, you're making a meme team.
Yeah, Jason is for the memes. Although he's not bad. You can, if you are going to build the Argo team, he's actually can pretty substantially increase their effectiveness.
Yeah, true.
Because Argonauts, he buffs Argonauts by 20% along attack, noble, phantasm, crit, star gen. It's just 20-30% increases across the board for other Argonauts.
Okay.
So as far as if you were just going to pull him in with plug suit because you're using Atlante or someone, that's a huge buff. And of course Hercules.
Yeah, he really helps put the Glad in Gladiator.
Yeah, here we go. Charges it Noble Phantasm for Argo-related allies, increases critical for Argo-related allies, increases star gen for Argo-related allies, except for himself.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not good at anything, so...
Yeah, he's useless. So, although he does have some of the best attack animations going.
That's true. He's certainly entertaining to use.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right.
Videos I've seen.
You've really got, if you need a 3-star Saber gear is it. Really.
No.
Unless you want Fergus.
No. I mean, Fergus is good. Like Fergus is quite effective if you want to skill him up. I would say that initially he was actually better than, in a lot of ways, he's better than Gawain, a 4-star. But yeah, Fergus is quite usable, but he's also very vanilla. And you know the main point I'm trying to make is that if we're talking free to play, then the bulk of your gathering of these servants is going to be through the friend point gacha, and you can't guarantee that the only thing you pull won't be Gi, and you just can't get much mileage out of that. Like I said, you can use him. It's just really hard work and not worth doing most of the time. Like I would, even though I'm pretty sure I had 5-star Gi by the time I got any Fergus or Caesar.
Yeah.
I still didn't use Gi at all because I would just use something off class would be more effective in the long term. Or what I actually did was use Kirihime for everything. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway, end of my week.
Yeah, Ari, go.
Ari, go. So this week, it was a lot like last week. A whole lot of intense work, but it didn't take many hours to do. I would often get off work a little bit early, but I would be balls to the wall busy when I was doing it. So I needed something easy to play. So I cleaned up the Platy in Borderlands 3 first because it's real easy to get, Platy to get, and then I shelved that game forever. Never touching that game again.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to convince me real hard, like, if you want me to try that game again.
I'm just gonna wait until the complete edition comes out.
Yeah. So that's done. People have been pestering me to try out the new Pikaman game. My sister got it for me for Christmas, and it's just kind of been sitting there. So I booted up the Pikaman game, and I'm almost at the end of the game. And I've only played it 10-ish hours.
It's not long, no.
No.
I seem to recall Pokemon Red taking me forever to finish.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of faffing around in that game because, HMs. But still, it took a while.
They just do so much crap that makes it so you don't have to try. Namely, permanently on EXP All. The absurd rate that EXP All is scaled to, so your whole party gets EXP. If you need to level up a Pikaman, you just go in the wild area, you go fight a raid boss once or twice, and you've got these EXP candies that will let you insta-level any Pokemon you want, level 50.
I don't mind those too much, but not
better for late game.
They're good for late game, good for post game, but not for when you're actually leveling through the story.
Yeah, everything's a joke.
Is that thing in the game still where your Pokemon just refuses to listen to you if you don't have enough gym badges?
Yes.
Yeah, but they do it. I really have a lot of beefs to pick with this game. The biggest beef I have is you get in the wild area, right? And this place is pretty dang big and spans the entire region. But there's no point in even attempting to catch anything here until you beat the game.
Yeah, depending on your badges, when you encounter a Pokemon, it will say an extremely strong whatever showed up. And what that means is it's outside the badge limit, and if you try and catch it, even if you can just absolutely demolish it with your current team, it just says no. It'll take your Pokeball and say no.
No, it won't even take a Pokeball.
Oh,
It'll just say, you can't even throw the Pokeball.
That's right, it just says no.
So...
That's right.
So
it's been a while since I played it.
Why do you change a thing like that? Like, what is the objective?
I don't know. But it will not let you even attempt to catch Pikaman that you very clearly can catch and take on. Like you have decided not to flee from the level 24 Onyx when you are level 16 because I got this, bro. And you got it, bro. You got him to 10 HP, and you got your Pokeball ready to throw. But the game just says no.
No, the game just says no. And that is the first one everyone encounters, because like you come out of the safe zone and there's an Onyx just sitting there right there.
Yeah. And so it's just a mess. And they put all the important items for getting the few Pikaman that you do want in the game, because the whole roster ain't there. Yep. Talk about that later. Foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole roster ain't there, you really want to get the ones that you do recognize. But to get like a Thunderstone that I needed for Jolteon, I had to go lay in the middle of nowhere in this place, in some back corner of the wild area, across a little waterway, and look for a random sparkly spawn spot on the ground when there's like 80 of them in that area, and hope the Thunderstone spawn was in one of them.
There's a spot right up the back where it's kind of got a standing circle ring, and it'll give you one of each of the stones there, because behind each of those, there's one there.
But that's way late in the game. You don't go there until you get the ability to surf.
The other option is you go to just near the daycare in the wildlet zone, and there's two guys who dig for treasure.
But that is also random.
Yep.
And grindy.
Gotta hope for the best.
There's the two dudes. You can feed them 500 watts, which are power you get from talking to the raid battle locations.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to a location, you haven't been to it recently, you can collect 50 watts from it. If a raid battle is active at it, you can get 300 for participating in the battle. And you take and these raid battles take quite a while to do, because even if you have animations turned off, the animation to enfatten your Pokemon and make it fat.
It's long. It's really long. Enfatten. Well, essentially, that's what you do. You just make it embiggen.
Yeah, you make it super fat.
So, I did actually talk to those digging guys, because if you want to get all the fossil Pokemon, you can get them in both versions, but half of the fossils have a much higher drop rate depending on your version, and the other two will have a much lower drop rate, like really small.
Oh, don't talk to me about spawn rates. Espeon is my favorite Pikaman.
Yep.
Do you know, in Pokemon Sword, Eevee has a 1% spawn rate in the town out where it can spawn, and you need a female to breed them and get more Eevees.
Yes.
I spent 2 of those 10 hours playing that game, driving around that stupid field looking for Eevees.
I got lucky and found a random Leafeon wandering around.
Yeah, they're up by the Elemental Stone area, way late game.
Yeah.
But it depends on the weather which Eevee spawns up there. But yeah, I'm like, I want an Espeon, I want a Jolteon. I always have Espeon and Jolteon.
Yes.
And I just was running around this stupid field looking for an Eevee forever.
Nope. You're going to have terrible spawn rates.
Yeah, Sword has a 1%, and Pikachu has a 5%, and it's flipped in Shield.
Yes.
So, Eevee is one of the most beloved Pokemon that everybody has an evolution that they really, really like and wouldn't mind on their team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is this stupid thing super rare, and why is its female rate 12.5% so I can breed more?
Because the game hates you. I also cheated.
Yes, it does.
Someone just gave me a Ditto, so there was that.
Yeah, Ditto isn't even available until post-game.
Nope. Well, actually, yeah, it is. There's a spot right up in the back corner again. You can get there
again,
pre-post-game, but late game.
Again, Surf needed, and you don't get Surf until you're on your way to the last gem.
Yeah. Although I admit the way they've done Surf in this one is nice. They just incorporate it into your bike.
Yeah, there's little quality of life stuff I like. I do like the bike and how it just mode changes into being a little ATV looking thing that can surf on water.
Yeah.
Whenever you get on water.
That's kind of cool.
That's neat.
Like I said at the time, for every step it seems like they've taken forward in this game, and there's quite a few things they've improved, it's like they've taken 2 steps backwards in other departments.
I tell you what, when I started getting towards the late game and really wanted to start putting my favorite Pikaman on the team, I started to feel the lack of Pikaman.
Yeah.
I really was like, okay, Scyther would be great right now. I really want a Scizor.
Nope, can't have it.
Scyther ain't in the game. Okay, can't get a Scizor. Okay, what else is? And I'm just sitting here going, nope, you're not in there. You're not in there. You're not. All these Pikaman I really like just ain't in there.
Nope, I want my Ampharos back, thank you very much, but I can't have Ampharos.
Yeah, I was thinking of Ampharos for my team until I got Jolteon, and I'm like, nope, can't. No Mareeps.
But who will fulfill your hair quotient?
No one, apparently.
Nobody, even if she does come back, Ampharos can't do it because she can't Mega Evolve.
You can have a creeper quotient, though, because there is Galarian Mr. Mime, which evolves to Mr. Rhyme, which is... creepy as all hell.
A rapper Pokemon?
No, it's,
Because that's what it sounds like.
It's a Charlie Chaplin Pokemon.
That's disturbing.
Very. The thing is, though, it's actually quite good. It does look like Chaplin. It's got the bowler hat and it's got the moustache.
So it looks like Hitler.
It kind of does look a bit like Hitler.
That is not something you want to admit if you're on the Pokemon design team.
No.
I will get you a picture of Mr. Rhyme. It's R-I-M-E because he's an ice type now.
Yeah. So, as far as Pokemon go, he's actually quite good, but it looks creepy as all get out.
I posted a picture of Mr. Rhyme in the live show chat.
Marvelous. Whoops, I need to do a thing, too. I forgot to do a thing.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And very strange.
This is a running theme with all the new Pikaman as I encounter them. The only one of the new Pikaman that I've liked has been the new generic bird type.
Corviknight, yeah. But it becomes steel type later.
Yeah, I got one and leveled it all the way up, and it got its last evolution. I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Is steel a good type at the moment?
Steel's always a good type.
Steel is always good. It's the best defensive by far.
I can never remember what it even does, so...
It wrecks fairies.
Yeah, it eats fairies for breakfast. Steel got a huge boost when it became super effective against fairies.
Yeah.
But in general, just being able to take a hit from anything that isn't fire or fighting, I think?
Fire, fighting, or ground.
Yeah. It can take a hit from literally anything else and still be standing.
And even with those typing, a lot of the Pokemon, not only do they have the typing advantage, but they've also got a crap ton of hit points.
And they usually have a stupid high physical attack stat, so moves like Iron Tail and stuff will like totally Shrek people.
Heavy Slam Aggron is also one of my standards, but I'm pretty sure Aggron's not in the game either.
Yeah, no, he's not in there. Yeah, this was just a problem. I would keep going, oh, I know who I want right now. Can I get... Nope, okay.
And Fern was playing apologist for the idea of having a dramatically reduced Pokedex when it was first announced.
I wouldn't say apologist. I get their logic. Their logic is fine. It sucks though.
I don't think that their logic is fine though. I think that their logic is, it won't matter if we just ignore the main reason people play Pokemon.
Yeah, everyone wants to play with their favorite Pokemon.
Like that's not sound logic. Like you're ignoring the thing that made your franchise.
They would have been better off, honestly, delaying it for a year and making the game just a bit more.
Well, we know why they didn't now. We'll talk about that in the news section.
Yeah, it's because, well, we'll come to that in a bit.
But yeah, needed a fighting type. Oh, I can go grab a Lopunny. Oh, wait, I can't Mega Evolve it, so it doesn't matter anyway, even if it did exist, which it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, Mega Lopunny is stupid.
Yeah, so can't get that anymore. Like, can't get, who else was I looking at?
You can get Lucario.
Yeah, but he's kind of one of the mascot types, so he's guaranteed to be in there.
Yeah.
Wanted a ground poison type, so was looking at Gliscor. He's not in the game.
Nope.
He, was looking at, Metagross. I use Metagross a lot. He's not in the game.
Metagross for you.
Just a whole bunch of Pikaman that I really like to use just ain't there.
Yeah.
Scyther was the big one that hit me, because I love Scizor.
I do like Scizor. I mean, it looks a bit goofy, but I still love it.
I like Scizor for gameplay more than looks.
Mr. Krabs?
Mr. Krabs.
He looks like Mr. Krabs.
Yeah.
Which is ironic considering the number of actual crabs that are around.
Edgy Mr. Krabs.
Yeah. Like, Scizor's one of the best Fault Swipe users in the game.
Yeah.
And just makes catching Pikaman way easier because it can Fault Swipe him. So... But you can't get Scizor because there's no Scyther.
Yeah. Like, there are neat things to like. Like, I love the option of, doing the raid battles and getting single-use TMs for rather obscure moves that otherwise don't get TMs.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah. But you can't get Tangrowth and you can't get Tangela, who are awesome. Shut up.
Tangrowth was awful in the first generation.
They're just a bunch of weeds that have terrible stats and don't do anything, but they're awesome Pikaman.
Yeah, I love that. They gave Tangela an evolution, and it's still terrible.
I mean, you can wall with it. It's not going to be able to do anything while it's being a wall.
It. You can sit there and just not die. I mean, you can't. There's no chancey, so you can't make your infinite team, infinite walls, and your infinite stall team.
Yep. Nope. No Gravelers. No Venomoth. Venomoth's another Pikaman I like that's terrible. Not in the game.
It is sometimes fun just to use terrible choices.
No Muck. Muck was one I was looking for because I like Muck. I've always liked Muck.
Why?
They didn't include Muck, but they did include Trubbish.
Yep. You can get a Garbodor. And Garbodor actually gets a Dynamax evolution too, which looks like it's just...
Why?
Yeah. It's just an enormous, giant pile of crap.
Mr.
Really.
Trash... Yeah, it's Mr. Trash Bags.
It is... Well, no. It lacks all the charm of Mr. Trash Bags.
That is true. But I called mine Mr. Trash Bags. Why are they trying
to institute the Garbodor meta?
I don't know.
But you see the point. There are so many cool Pikaman that I've used on my teams, and I can't get them.
Yeah. I know it might be a bit of a stretch, but what are some of the things you actually did like about the game?
Not a whole lot, honestly.
Yeah.
I felt like I was wasting my time with it.
In retrospect as well, so did I. Like, okay, the gym leader battles felt like an event, but then they were over, and that was it.
And they have no relevance at all. They're back to Gen 1 and 2 level gym leaders that have no impact or do anything.
Yeah.
Even freaking Jasmine had more story impact or stuff to do and more character than these guys.
You had the creepy old lady did a thing, and you had the dark type gym leader did a thing. Well, he does a thing in the post game.
You mean the two worst gyms in the game?
Yes. Like, the dark type doesn't even Dynamax. That's kind of his thing.
Just a regular Pikaman battle against a guy that uses exclusively dark types.
Yeah, like, okay, great, we finally got a dark type gym. Why is he one of the worst gyms in the game?
And his gym challenge, because they have little mini games you have to clear before you finish the dungeon in this one.
Yeah.
His gym challenge is walk to the end of the hallway and beat all the trainers on the way.
Yeah, this is Gen 1 level gym challenge.
Yeah, and they got really lazy with the last 3 gyms. You can tell they ran out of time because one of them is you battle 3 dudes and then you fight the gym leader, but you're asked random questions about the gym leader's personality.
Yeah,
that you have no way of knowing, or are intentionally deceptive.
Yeah.
The stupid one when the girl that's talking about what's my favorite, the question is what's my favorite color, and she won't shut up about pink, and the answer is actually purple.
Yeah, she just likes pink on other people.
Yeah, that hacked me off.
That was annoying.
Somebody thought that was really clever though, right?
Oh yeah. Someone's wearing the troll face.
The game's already made you mad at that point because you can't get the Pikaman you want, and then the gym leader pulls that, and you see Espeon's special defense and speed have gone down sharply. How was I supposed to know it was purple when she talks about pink all the time?
Yeah. That's okay. For me, it was a case of, oh yeah, well, how about this? Take a steel type attack. Ha, your Pokemon's dead now. How do you like that? Smart ass.
You don't even need a type advantage in this game unless it's a Dynamax Pikaman because
they're just giant hit point sponges.
You're just going to steamroll your way through because there's no challenge at all. Yep. Money is so overabundant thanks to the wild area being able to spawn random items you can go sell.
If you have the event Meowth from the launch, you can just break money entirely.
Yeah, you can payday high level mobs in the wild area.
Well, you Dynamax it and it gets a Dynamax payday, which I think it just gives it the maximum amount of money it can possibly drop if you use all 3.
Yeah. So
was it this new Pokemon game that introduced a Pokemon that was just like a regular sheep?
Yeah. It's a sheep. Like, people like the sheep. It's kind of cute. It evolves.
It's evolved. Yeah, its evolved form reminds me of like the goat Pokemon from Gen 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's a wall, admittedly, as an evolution because it can just spam Cotton Guard and just sit there all day.
Yeah, but it's in general the designs for Pikaman this generation not impressive.
Not impressive, and I'm going to have a bit of a rant about that later on when we talk about the DLC because they've got the dumbest legendary ever.
Yeah, so I have not been impressed with this. I genuinely can't think of a reason to finish it other than to just say I finished it and have it sit. Yeah, have it sitting there where I can pull out the team of what I managed to cobble together from the Pikaman I liked. When I have both Gallade and Gardevoir on the team because literally everything else cool has been not put in the game, we got a problem.
And no Mega Gardevoir either, by the way.
Yeah, no Mega Gardevoir, which is the only reason you would run Gardevoir.
To make her even more glamorous and elegant.
Because basically the entire new roster's off the table. They're all ugly as sin and just not cool and generic.
Yeah. Like, I like my Colossal because pun. But as an appearance, or just how it looks, it's basically it's a pile of coal on legs.
He's one of the less offensive ones, but he's still just kind of whatever.
Yeah. Like, I kind of like him. Except his signature attack, he cannot use on Dynamax Pokemon. He just shakes his head and refuses to do it and wastes your turn.
His pre-evolution...
I don't understand. There's a lot about this Dynamax concept that sounds very strange.
Well,
Dynamax...
It's bad.
Yeah. Dynamaxing is just worse Mega Evolving.
Yeah,
and Mega Evolving was fine as a concept. I don't know why we had to change it. Everybody liked Mega Evolution.
Yeah, everyone likes Mega Evolution. A lot of people liked Z moves, although I can understand the people who didn't. Dynamax is kind of the versatile between both, and it gets neither of the benefits.
I think that that it's a cool thing, but I don't like when gimmicks redefine the entire meta around them.
Mm-hmm.
And in any situation where that happens, that usually provides a development incentive to move away from it in subsequent iterations.
I wouldn't say it actually is going to redefine the meta as such. It's more like, oh, someone wants to do something incredibly boring for 3 moves.
Yeah, like Dynamaxing has another boring part to it, where it overwrites your Pokemon's entire moveset with corresponding pre-canned moves of that type, unless it has a special Dynamax move for its species, which is rare.
Yeah.
So it's like having them take your move list away and replace it with Pound.
Yeah, basically.
Except it's like Max Water Gun, Max Pound, Max Deflect, or whatever.
There is nothing Max about Pound.
There is a G-Max version for the ones that actually get a Dynamax version rather than the Gigantamax versions, which is exactly the same, it just does a little bit more damage.
Yeah, and these moves, they all follow the same pattern. When you use them, they deal the max amount of damage for a move of that type, slightly modified based on the move that the move originally was.
With really long animations.
With a really hecka-long animation. Turn your animations off in this game, people.
Yeah.
And it will either guarantee to reduce the stat of the enemy, boost one of your stats, or change a weather effect.
Yeah.
That's it.
If you've got a effect or a non-damaging type, it just gets Protect.
Yeah.
That's all it is, Protect.
You just get Protect. Which, why are you using Protect when you've used the game mechanic that triples your Pokemon's HP?
Yeah. You want to sit there, you want to soak hits, and you want to do as much damage as you possibly can with your incredibly boring moves.
Yeah. And there's no thought to it. You're just going to use the one that's same type attack bonus.
Yep.
Every single time. It's like, oh, the Inteleon got Gigantamaxed. Well, I guess it's going to spam Max Geyser over and over again, because all its water moves became Max Geyser, and it's the only move that makes sense when it's that big.
Yep, unless you're fighting a Psychic, in which case you just use probably whatever Dark move you've got at that point.
Yeah, Max Darkness. Yes, that's what it's called.
Max Dark. Yeah, and it's just purple floating around all over the place. At least the Ghost-type one's fun. It just throws phantasmal furniture around.
Yeah.
But that gets old really quick.
They were onto something with the wild area that was a cool idea to start an idea with, but they didn't finish fleshing it out, and the other decisions they made with the game just have shot it in the foot. We are such a step down from Ultra Sun and Moon it's not even funny.
It's not a step down. This is let's fall off a cliff and land on our face.
Oh, they just jumped right off the ladder and gave up.
Yeah.
I have not heard anybody actually give a positive overall appraisal of this new generation at all.
No.
Like of all of the other generations that I've seen, at least somebody who thought it was really cool. But this one has just been universally like the best that people have been saying about it is, oh, it's okay.
Yeah, and that's about it. It's okay. It's functional.
It's more Pikaman, but it's bad Pikaman.
It's bad Pikaman.
And it's sad. We hit such a high point with Ultra Sun and Moon. The Z moves were kind of dumb. I hated Z moves, but
I kind of liked them.
I didn't at all. I thought they were garbage. But they still had Mega Evolution in the game. And if you must have a meta mechanic, Mega Evolution is simple.
Yeah.
For one of your Pikaman can Mega Evolve once per battle. And it gets a new form and new ability, new passive ability, but all its moves stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
And you still have to strategize with it. It just has new stats and a new passive.
Yeah. In some cases, depending on what your Mega Evolution is, it can effectively be a 7th Pokemon. Or it can just be one Pokemon that's more powerful.
Or you can be Mega Kangaskhan and get banned.
Exactly. You can just break the meta entirely because of your ridiculous OP nonsense.
For those that don't know, Mega Kangaskhan can attack twice per turn.
Yeah.
How did they design that? I've often wondered. Like, what about that sounds like a good idea?
Well, because of its ability and because when it Mega Evolves, it doesn't really change much. Its baby just jumps out of its pouch. Like, it makes sense, but the baby does full damage.
Oh, it does 75% or
75%
damage. But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Because that's going to one-shot literally anything.
Yeah. It is going to absolutely wreck face. Like, if it was maybe 25% damage, it would be a bit more balanced, but it'd be a bit boring at that point, too.
Yeah, especially with super effective multipliers. It doesn't matter what that baby uses.
Oh, yeah, it's just going to blow up whatever it punches.
2 super effective hits with no way to intercede on your own turn before you even get to make a move, yeah, you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it actually gets a massive speed boost as well, come to think of it.
Yeah. But yeah, all the other ones were fine, though. None of the other ones got banned for being game-breaking, but all of them were used. Almost every single Mega Evolution was used.
Yeah.
At some point in all levels of play.
Yeah. Let me see. Kangaskhan. Let's actually look at the stats for this thing while I think of it. Mega Kangaskhan. It gets no more health. It gets a decent boost of attack, a decent boost of defense, special effects, little speed boost. So it doesn't get a whole lot in the way of stats. But Parental Bond is its special. Let me see. This has a novel written about it. Wow.
It's such a complicated effect because of how it works.
Yeah.
It's the only type of effect like that in the game.
Yeah, so any move that does damage to a single target goes twice.
Yeah, they nerfed it in the Sun and Moon generation to deal 25% of the damage of the first ability.
Yeah, because at the time it was full damage, and that was absurd.
Yeah. But, yeah, Mega Kangaskhan was the only one to get the ban hammer.
Mega Kangaskhan really got the nerf hammer, too.
Mega Kangaskhan got the ban hammer in Nintendo Online. It got so bad.
Yeah.
Like, that you just couldn't use Mega Kangaskhan net play. They just said no.
So
they added it to the list of legendaries that you couldn't use.
Yeah, there were a few other Megas that were pretty kind of broken, but nothing on that level.
But I bring Megas up so much when I'm talking about this game because I contrast it with Gigantamax.
Yeah.
Because Infattening is boring.
Every time you say that, I just find it funny. I can't help myself.
Yeah. But every part of Infattening is boring.
Every
last bit of it.
For the Gigantamax one, for the ones that actually do get it, most of the designs are bad.
Yeah, really bad.
Like, the Megas change a bit, but they don't change for the worst in a lot of cases. They kind of look a bit cooler, but maybe a half evolution.
They look like a full new evolution of that same Pikaman most of the time, unless it's Kangaskhan.
Yeah, or at least they look like just a more mature version of that given Pokemon. Except for Kangaskhan, who just has a baby now.
But yeah, you get like full bearded Alakazam and Scizor gets the giant like electro clamps.
Ampharos gets fabulous.
Yeah, they look cool. Like maybe if you don't even like the design choice, you can see how somebody else would think that look cool.
Yeah,
that was neato.
But let's look at the Gigantamax forms. One turns into a giant stonking wedding cake.
That's probably the best one.
Yeah, and it's still dumb.
And yeah, and like Eevee, poor Eevee, just gets when Eevee gets fat. Eevee gets fat. Its fur gets extra fat, and its neck fur gets triple extra fat.
Yeah. So
and it gets a little swirly doodad over its head.
Yeah. Oh, everyone gets that weird little cloud doodad. Like, one of them just says, "Screw you, I'm a tower now," even though it kind of was to begin with, and it's just more so a tower.
Yeah, one of the gym trainers uses that in his gym battle, and I'm just like, that thing looks stupid.
That thing looks really dumb. You're going to have Snorlax, which essentially just gets really big and gets grass and crap growing on it. Actually, that one's not too bad. It looks just like the Snorlax has been there for quite some time.
It's still not, like, even the caliber of Gyarados to Mega Gyarados.
Yeah.
And that's probably the simplest Mega Evolution. Where
it just gets fat.
Well, he doesn't get fat in his Mega Evolution. Gyarados gets, like, the full whisker treatment, where his whiskers get completely redone, and the scales and fins change. But he still looks like Gyarados.
He still looks like Gyarados, just more so.
Yeah. But that's still cooler than whatever the hell Pokemon you were talking about, because I already forgot it was so boring.
Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah, Snorlax. Mega Snorlax.
Giganto Snorlax. Yeah.
Yeah, fattest Snorlax.
Yeah, let me see. I'm going to just go through and find some of the worst ones here. So, Meowth, the event Meowth is one. It's basically Longcat. It is Longcat.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing some gags about that, actually, yeah.
You've got...
Yeah, that was dumb.
Yeah, you've got newly announced... Actually, the Giganto Blastoise that they've announced doesn't look too bad. It's just gets lots more cannons. Although Giganto Venusaur is basically being eaten by its own flower at this point. Gengar is horrifying. It's just basically a giant mouth.
Looks like Abaddon from Persona or SMT.
That's what it looks like. Thank you. That's been bothering me. Rillaboom gets just a ridiculously big drum set. Cinderace stands on a giant ball of fire and gets ridiculously long ears. Inteleon doesn't change. It just spawns a giant sniper tower out of nowhere. Let's see.
All the starters too are awful. Now that you mentioned Inteleon, I picked him in the Frog Water dude line.
Frogbond.
And yeah, Frogbond's signature ability is Snipe Shot.
It just points at things.
Yeah, it just does water damage to like literally everything. Its only effect is it bypasses Reflect and Light Screen, doesn't get reduced damage.
Yeah. So here we go. Here's some of the dumber ones. Duraludon is the one that turns into a tower.
Yeah, that's a new Pikaman. It looks terrible.
Centiskorch is just a gigantic tapeworm.
Yeah, that's just also a super ugly Pikaman that's new.
Sandaconda is one of the ones I really hate, where it's a snake cyclone.
Obligatory snake Pikaman looks... This is the worst snake Pikaman we've had.
Yeah, it's bad. Even when it's regular version, it just looks like it's a snake that's wrapped itself up in a knot.
When you're worse than a Pokemon whose name is literally Snake backwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
A poison Pokemon, no less.
Yeah.
Poison.
Well, the new ones.
I don't know. Is poison a bad type still?
Yeah.
It's still pretty bad. It is a vulnerability if a Pikaman has poison on it.
Yeah, it's okay against fairies though.
Fairies have bumped it up a bit, but from like Gen 1 to fairies, whatever Gen X and Y were, it was incredibly bad.
Yeah. What else we've got? You've got the two evolutions of whatever the apple one was. You got Flapple and Appleton, which are both Dynamax into the same thing, which is it turns back into an apple essentially. That's kind of half rotten. So yeah.
There's a lot we could go on about the designs forever, but in general, the new mechanic is boring, and the entire game is based around this new mechanic. And in addition to being boring, takes forever in its animations.
Yeah,
And even if you have animations turned off, you still have to watch the 20-30-second cutscene where your trainer zaps your little Pikaman back in its Pokeball, chucks it behind them, and then the Pokemon gets fat. Presumably by eating a billion cakes while in the Pokeball as the Pokeball gets big.
What, so there's no lore explanation?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is, but it doesn't matter.
It does matter. It's the usual, like, here is a prophecy, and at the end of the day, we're just going to pull something out of our arse anyway.
Magic meteors fell from space to make it happen.
Fight giant space claw.
That can cause spontaneous increase in mass.
Yes.
Fattening.
Fattening.
So yeah, you fight the claw, and that's it. And for some reason, once you manage to capture this thing, it doesn't stop the Dynamaxing. Because reasons?
Yeah.
In general. It sounds like a term for some kind of, like, television in the 80s or something.
It does, doesn't it?
You can make a workout tape and call it Gigantamax, and you could probably sell it.
You probably could, and probably has been done.
If you dug through the VHS, like, celebrity-endorsed workout tapes, we can probably find Gigantamax or something similar as a title for one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, to wrap up Pikaman, my general impressions are not good.
No.
At all.
But it sounds to me, though, like everything that you've said would still be forgivable if they hadn't culled the Pokedex.
That is a huge step in the wrong direction.
Oh, here we go. Dynamaxing has been banned by the competitive meta.
No, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah. I think I might have said that when you guys first brought it up weeks and weeks ago.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, but it just makes sense. There's no competitive relevance to it. There's no decision making. It's just you get fat and you get boring, like Californians.
Here we go. Dynamax is also a medicine ball, a motor oil, and what appears to be some sort of tornado-based toilet cleaning system.
That's appropriate, because that's where the mechanic belongs.
Good times. Good times.
Yeah. Honestly, I gotta tell people to skip this generation entirely. I cannot find a justified reason with the game, especially as it is right now at the price point they're asking.
All right.
To say you will get a full value Pikaman experience for $60 full with this game, because you're not. That would be a lie.
All right. Do you have anything else for your week, or do you want to just tangent straight into the announcements?
Another part of my week kind of relates to a bit of news, so I'll do it quickly.
Okay, go for it.
And it's much less so. I have not spent as much time on this game. I've only been playing it basically today.
Mm-hmm.
But foreshadowing a certain announcement Mr. Sakurai made, I have been meaning to poke at Fire Emblem Three Houses forever, and I was really hesitant to, for a lot of reasons called Fire Emblem Fates.
Yes.
And so Fates did a number on me, man. I was not happy with that game.
You sound scarred for life.
I am. So I finally popped. Well, after I got fed up with Pikaman, I took a break today and started playing a bit of Fire Emblem. And the game, the first thing that jumped out at me were two things. On female Byleth, on her upper torso. Honey, how are you a protagonist with knockers that big?
Oh, dear.
I linked Fern. I had to take a screenshot to emphasize, because I couldn't find somebody with a good screenshot of Byleth's assets.
Well, all the promo pictures, it's almost completely obscured. Like, I didn't realize that this was a thing.
I didn't either. And this is why it was such a shock to me. In the live show chat, I have posted the picture I took a screenshot of. They are as big as her head.
Mm-hmm.
And that outfit squishes them down some. in some of the combat attire, when you unlock more the beginner classes, they are unrestrained.
Oh my.
And might as well be hot air balloons.
Oh my.
None of the other girls even come close to Byleth. So your protag has the biggest rack in the cast, and it is so disproportionately huge when it is your main character. It is the first thing that's going to stick out to you when you play this game, because who's going to play the male character?
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was the first two things that stuck out to me. The other thing is I'm playing on hard, like I usually do, and with hard classic, so permadeath is on. One thing I do like about their workaround to the hard classic problem that Fates presented is you don't have to restart the whole dang map when somebody just gets crit out of nowhere from some enemy that had like a 2% crit chance.
The classic Fire Emblem problem.
Yeah, this problem has been plaguing Fire Emblem for a very long time, where you will be doing just fine, and then some random no-name bandit with a 2% crit gets the crit, bypasses your defense, and insta-jibs your healer or something. And you gotta reload the game from the start of the fight because you wanted to see their story. This has been a problem. They have a solution now. And this lets you rewind time for a really dang long amount of turns, something like 50 turns, 3 times per fight. You can stop it at any point in those 50 turns.
Mm-hmm.
So you get 3 redos. Now, the way they balance this to make it work, because this sounds really broken, if you take the same actions you did on the turns you rewound, the dice rolls have already happened, and they will happen exactly the same. So you have to change some stuff.
Huh.
So you cannot just undo one turn where you just got unlucky. You do have to redo a bit of jigging and make sure somebody else fights that mob. Otherwise, they're just going to get the crit on that target again. Yeah. So this has been a very nice compromise, I think, to the Fire Emblem conundrum, where there's nothing I'm going to do when I reload this map any different than the last time I played it. I'm just going to hope for better dice rolls. There was no thought in that. I had the strategy down. I had one that would work. I just got unlucky. So this allows you to have 3 mulligans on that, so that you can get jibbed and go whoops and just rewind. So yeah. I very much so appreciated that in the few fights I have got to do.
Yeah, that's good, because previous Fire Emblem games, it's like someone gets instantly jibbed. Now you got to start the mission all over again.
And a big part of your attachment to the characters in Fire Emblem comes from the fact of knowing that if they die, they're gone forever. So I don't think you're getting an authentic Fire Emblem experience unless you play it with Classic Mode on.
Yeah.
Because there's just a different headspace you're in when anybody can just die willy-nilly versus I need to keep these people alive.
Yes.
It gives you a totally different narrative perspective. It then changes how you're going to look at the entire game. Now, what I don't like is them getting like mayonnaise in my peanut butter by mixing the Persona elements into all this. Mayonnaise may work fine on some things. Peanut butter may work fine on some things. Don't mash them together.
Are you talking about that Fire Emblem Fate crossover? Was it Fate's FE something? I don't know.
No, I'm talking about the monastery sections where you go back to the school and you have to persona your way around several times a month.
Yay.
And do menial tasks like sit down and have dinner with these people and go fishing and all other kinds of mini games. This is not how a Fire Emblem story feels like it should be presented. These things are long political dramas that go on for a while in a very linear fashion and work best told with the story continuously told from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
This is how all the best Fire Emblem stories have always been done. Putting in this little hub area to make you have to get away from that and go hang out with your students to get their social links up, it just doesn't feel right. It does not fit the tone the game is setting. And I don't like it at all. So, while I like that type of peanut butter when it's, in the Persona sandwich, I don't want the Fire Emblem mayonnaise on that peanut butter.
I feel like this metaphor is getting a bit tortured at this point.
Just a bit.
But it is a very close approximation to how I feel about the situation, because I like both of the series a lot. Well, except for Fates. But I don't like them when they mix their elements together, is what I've come to find.
Yeah, it's why nobody liked Fates.
Yeah. Well, Fates, no, people didn't like Fates because you couldn't beat the game.
Also
due to censorship.
Yeah, there was that too.
Which was the one that you had to buy like 3 times?
That
Fates.
was Fates, yeah.
Oh, it was also Fates. Is there anything good about that game?
No, do not buy.
Yeah.
Stay the F away from that game, especially because you can't even buy the ending route, the finale of the game. You have to buy a whole separate game, and you can only buy it digitally and only after you've already bought and played through one of the first 2 routes.
Yep.
So you cannot get it. You can't get that one used. Good luck. Oh, Fates. Why did you happen?
Yeah. By the sound of it, though, three houses actually quite good.
In general, the in-game Fire Emblem parts are pretty good. I've enjoyed it so far, but I'm still in the setup. You know, I've done 2 main story missions because I was busy today. I went to go see Volacel's former Solus leader. He was in town.
Fair enough.
So went to go see some internet friends who were in town. I had a good time with them. But yeah, 2 story missions in and derping around for 2 months of the game calendar. I'm just kind of like, I really wish these elements weren't here.
Yeah.
Just let me Fire Emblem. Also, but they did do one thing on hard mode in this game, and I love that they have the option to do this. The Fire Emblem team apparently still remembers the older, like, Binding Blade, Blazing Blade games and older, where you could not grind. And that was a big part of the appeal of those older games, was you can't grind your way past a problem. You have to make sure you're playing correctly the entire game and leveling people appropriately and making sure the levels are being spread out to maximize experience gain.
Yep.
But I like grinding my way past problems.
But in the later games, you could just have anybody fight whatever you want and make a bunch of Juggernaut units and not care about strategy because you could grind. Yep. But you can't do that no more. If you play on hard mode, you are given an allocated amount of points every week in the game calendar to spend on not random battles, but, you know, battles that you can go do. And once you're out of those points for that week, you're done. You can't grind anymore. And doing that comes at the expense of doing the social link crap at the monastery.
Yep.
So you have to make a decision.
Yeah. My first game was Part of the Radiance, and yeah, there was no grinding in that. And if you had a situation where you needed a certain class to overcome it, or at least kind of work around some other mechanic, and you hadn't leveled one, you're boned.
Yeah. And thankfully, they have also addressed the problem of bad level ups. So for those that don't know, the way that leveling works in Fire Emblem, each character has a base percentage for every stat to increase when you level up, plus a base percentage based on whatever class they are at that moment, which are usually, you know, at most 15%. So you have about, at most, for your best stat, it probably has an 80% chance to increase every time you level up.
Yep.
For your not so best stats, which are still very important, it can get as low as 15.
Yeesh.
And so you can get level ups where you get 1 stat point.
Yep.
You are only guaranteed to have at least 1 stat increase. So they have alleviated this some by, instead of having each class have its own levels that eventually cap out and you're stuck, that character can keep on leveling up until it hits stat caps.
Okay, good.
So it carries a character level between all of its classes instead of each class having a separate level that will inevitably cap out where you can't level it anymore.
I remember furiously save scumming in Neverwinter Nights because of random the hit points is determined randomly on level up.
Yes.
Yep.
And because so, you know, unless you wanted to be a level 20 wizard with 30 hit points, You needed to save scum.
It was possible to, absolutely jip yourself as a wizard. Or any casters, really.
It was the exact same kind of deal in Fire Emblem, except it was every single stat.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you leveled up. So yeah, I will have more to report on that later. I only bring it up now to let you all know that I'm poking at it because there is some good news about the Fire Emblems.
Alright, so perfect tangent. Sakurai did a Smash Bros. Announcement this week, and he announced as the newest character and the final one of the first set is
Byleth.
It's Byleth. Honestly, I kind of expected Byleth. It was either going to be Byleth or a Generation 8 Pokemon.
Everybody was certain it was going to be Dante. Everybody.
You were.
A lot of people wanted it to be Dante, but honestly...
You are mistaking, the idea that it's likely to be Dante with your desire for it to be Dante.
Yeah.
It was so well telegraphed. Everybody was talking about.
No, it wasn't well telegraphed. It wasn't well telegraphed. That's what's going on here. It's not being telegraphed at all. The telegraph is in your head.
We got Sakurai talking about how it's going to be somebody that uses a sword, and it's going to be.
That's every protagonist in every Japanese game ever.
Yes.
And it's going to come out, and he announces this on the same day that the DMC3 Special Edition stuff is all getting announced on the Switcheruski.
In other words, he's in competition.
And so we're like... And he's talking about third-party people, which has just turned out to be him tangenting. But we were hoping. It's like, it's going to be Dante.
That is the most unbelievably flimsy evidence that you possibly could have cited.
Yeah,
there's more evidence that he was going to announce Half-Life 3.
Meanwhile, the evidence for Byleth was there's a Fire Emblem game that came out recently. They do this every time.
Yeah,
but no, it was going to be Dante.
No, it wasn't going to be Dante. There was no timeline in which it was Dante.
No, that was the main timeline, and we're living in Clown World where it wasn't Dante. You hush.
So, yeah, they've announced Byleth, who is another sword bro, or sword lady.
And they've had to notably scale down said giant as big as your head assets for the Smash release, I've noticed.
Otherwise, they couldn't animate her properly.
When she animates in the game, they don't bounce or anything. They just they do it worse where they just stay static and bound up in that leather armor. So she just runs around with these giant flotation devices, bolted onto her chest that don't move at all.
All right. So, thankfully, it's not another clone. Honestly, I think people would be a lot less down on Fire Emblem characters if we didn't have 4 Fire Emblem characters already who are exactly the same.
Well, she's not... I don't know what kind of special power she gets, but she starts the game off as your generic Sword Lord.
Yeah.
Well,
apparently there's some sort of...
She's not a lord.
Apparently there's some sort of Super Saiyan-y thing you get later on.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about. I've seen her with a different hair color, but...
Yeah. So, in Smash, you get your sword, which is a whippy sword, because reasons. And you also get the hero relics for for the 3 houses as well, which is a bow, an axe, and a spear. Or a glaive, I guess. So,
I've seen the whippy sword in the intro cutscene.
It hasn't used it in the game yet?
No, it was on some bad guy that apparently was in a battle 700 years ago.
Huh. Okay, well, apparently you get the whippy sword.
He got stabbed by a very angry lady with a dagger.
That sounds like basic Fire Emblem, really.
Yep.
Somebody gets angry, somebody gets stabbed. Everything is terrible forever. The kingdoms are thrown into war because reasons. So yeah, she looks like she's kind of more of a ranged zoning type character, I guess, as far as you get in Smash anyway.
If they go the Robin route, I'll be okay.
Yeah, put something new and unique in. Robin, Corrin's fine. Lucina is not.
Corrin's not fine because Corrin's from Fates.
Well, okay, yeah.
It doesn't matter what Corrin does. He's from Fates.
I've never actually played Corrin in Smash.
It should have been Mash.
Should have been Marshu. No, it'll be a Saberface. You know it'll be a Saberface.
Nobody wants it to be a saber face. Except
that's
everybody,
why,
because Arturia wins every popularity poll for some reason.
because she is the Saberface. So yeah,
Yes.
I think a lot of people once said, "Oh, it's Byleth," so you went, "Nah."
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure everybody deflated. I just don't believe that everybody thought it was going to be Dante.
No, like, I
Because
think a
that's
lot of
just
people,
so staggeringly unlikely.
a lot of people wanted it to be Dante, but that's not the same thing.
Mind you, I mean, I thought it was staggeringly unlikely that Sonic would ever be in
True,
Smash.
but as soon as they opened it up for third parties, Sonic would have been a sure thing. They just hadn't announced third parties at that point.
Well, the reason why it didn't seem like a sure thing was because, you know, for everybody in our generation, Nintendo and Sega were enemies.
Yeah. Nowadays, they're making crossover games every time there's Olympics on.
And until the GameCube came out, Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Yeah.
Until the Saturn came out and blew up the company.
Saturn was a good system.
Not the Saturn.
The Dreamcast was not.
Was it the Dreamcast I'm thinking of?
The Dreamcast had some unique titles, like
Very
Seaman.
Why?
But by and large, it was not marketed very well.
It's such a strange game.
It did introduce us to Big the Cat.
It did, and for that, it shall never be forgiven.
Big the Cat.
It's Byleth. Yay. I think the bigger and more encouraging announcement is you can now play as Cuphead in Smash if you want to.
That's good.
It's better.
They put him as a costume for the Mii Fighter.
Yeah, so that's fine. That's fine. You can do that. They've announced the details, or some of the details, of the next DLC pack, which instead of 5 characters is 6 this time around. And they're doing the same thing where it's, you know, a character, a level, and a bunch of music. I'm assuming.
The Persona 5 level was actually really good.
Yeah.
Mostly because I could set the tune to Burn Your Bread and it would go to the Persona 3 stage music and stage instead.
Yeah, and victory condition if you won as Joker. For the Terry DLC, there's something like 100 odd tracks they've added in for that.
Yeah, they put a stupid number of music with this DLC.
Yeah, so in terms of value for money, you've gotten your money's worth out of it. But yeah, Byleth just kind of...
Yeah, everybody was kind of like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's a character that, by definition, doesn't really have a personality, is it?
No, it doesn't even have a voice.
No.
She's the mute that solves the world by nodding vigorously, and people can interpret this as full sentence responses.
Or potentially ruins the world if you're really bad at the game.
Maybe. I don't know.
Get that bad end.
Haven't finished the game yet.
Gotta get that bad end. So yeah, that's that. So it's kind of meh. Like I would have actually been surprised if they went for third-party characters for the entirety of the 5-pack. Like they would have had to put a Nintendo character in there somewhere. And yeah, okay, Banjo kind of counts, I guess, sort of. Anyway,
the only Banjo games people care about are on the N64.
Exactly. Because there was one on the Xbox which nobody seems to even acknowledge.
Nobody talks about Nuts and Bolts. It didn't happen. Like the Tsukihime anime.
I legit didn't know that there was one.
Spesmarins.
They're doing a much better job keeping Nuts and Bolts under wraps than the Tsukihime community about their anime.
It's because nobody cared.
I'm sure that there was a recent update about that.
The anime or Nuts and Bolts?
I think that they turned the project over to the new studio that they've opened. So there's actually a studio that is nominally assigned to work on the Tsukihime remake now.
Okay.
Or something like that.
I can get Melty Blood too.
All right.
On the other hand, there is no translation for Mihoyo. That hasn't changed.
Not gonna happen. Nobody's gonna finish that stupid translation. If I want to read it, I just need to go learn Japanese. But yeah. The other thing I was segueing to
is the Pikaman's announcers. So, in a nutshell, instead of getting, the Ultra release or whatever that they've done every year up until now, instead they're just going to do 2 expansion packs.
In short, Nintendo and Game Freak figured out how to make money.
It was a long time coming, and now they've just joined everybody else in being worthless.
I don't know. I think some of the previous games releasing the Ultra Edition has been a kind of a cash grab.
That may be true, but let's think about this. The both games are $35 together US. So that's $70 you're paying for both versions of the game if you buy one.
Why would you buy both?
You're buying one of each version of the game. So you buy Sun and Moon and then Ultra Sun, or you buy Sun and then you buy Ultra Sun.
Yeah, that's
that's about how most people would do it. That's $70.
Yep.
For this, the base game is $60.
Yep.
So that's already most of the price point. And every subsequent expansion, I guarantee, is going to be priced at least $10 to $15.
Yep, they've announced that you can buy them both for $30.
And Nintendo games don't drop in price.
Ever.
Yeah. So they will be continuing to make full profit for the entire run of its life for every sale they make.
Uh-huh. So, yeah, you're going to be spending about $90 for the entire experience.
For what we have announced so far. And
Although,
furthermore...
your math is off in Australia, by the way.
Yeah, I'm aware. I was using US bucks, but I imagine upscaling the numbers, they're still comparable.
It's still $30 for the DLCs in Australia. The base game is about $90, I think.
Yeah, so in the ballpark.
Yeah. So either way, it's an extra chop on. So what we get is 2 DLCs. You get Armor and you get Crown. So Isle of Armor, Crown Tundra. Isle of Armor is, in both cases, they're both another open world area. Between the two, there's supposed to be 200 Pokemon being added.
Which is wonderful, but this explains why the whole Pikaman weren't in the base game.
Well, no, it doesn't, because allowing for 25% of these being new and regional variances, that's still a long shot from being the full decks.
Oh, well, no, it still counts, because they'll just release more expansions after this to include the old ones that people really want.
I mean, they'd print money if they did that, so probably.
It's blatantly obvious that's what they're doing. They're holding back the Pokemon people want to include in these expansions as incentives for people to buy the expansions.
Mm-hmm.
So that people have to give them the full price for the whole game, which is, by the end of its life cycle, probably going to be $120.
Keep adding more, keep adding more.
And, yeah, they'll probably stick Mega Evolution in one of them just to get all the people that like that mechanic back. They'll probably stick Z-moves back in the same way. We know what they're doing. They said all this was because they had to redesign it and recode it and remake the models for the new Switch. But that was a blatant lie.
No.
They got caught on it.
Yeah.
People ripped the models from the game and ripped the models from the 3DS and said, the polygons are exactly the same. You are clearly lying.
It's because the owner of the Pokemon company had absolutely no faith in the Switch and so half-assed everything.
But yeah, at the end of the day, we got told a lie.
Yeah.
And we now know they are using that lie to make profit. Yeah. That is a consumer no-no.
The half-assing, by the way, is actually on full record.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got 2 expansions. The first expansion gives you Fighty Panda, which is apparently what follows you around throughout the entire story. There's something about something dojo, something fighting panda.
Why Pancham? What's he doing?
It kind of is like edgy Pancham.
Now, as an aside, the Tsukihime remake isn't being done by the new studio. However, there was an update saying that it's in progress and they're looking forward to releasing it. And the update was on December 16th last year.
Ooh.
Yeah, about to say same thing we hear every 5 minutes from Nesu.
No, it wasn't Nesu that said it. That's the reason why it's credible.
That's why it's coherent.
It was one of the other people in the studio.
I was going to say that boy says that every time he gets to the bottom of a whiskey bottle.
Yeah, you give Nasu a bottle and he's happy. It's fine.
Tsukihime's totally going to be done, folks. I promise. Now, put another one on my tab.
Yeah.
I do not have a very good mental picture of this drunk mushroom.
Yeah. So where were we? Yeah, so you get a little Pokemon at the start of Isle of Isle of Armor. It starts off as Fighting Dark, and it will evolve into 2 different types depending on what you do in those games. The second one seems to be based around the absolute worst designed legendary I've ever seen. It's like a balloon with a vestigial reindeer attached to it.
Yeah.
It's like they designed a crown and then said, okay, this needs to be a Pokemon. Let's just attach a reindeer dangling below it. And make it tiny. It's terrible.
It's also got like this goat face.
It does have goat face.
So it's like a hot air balloon goat.
Yeah. So it's a psychic grass. So it's instead, think of it maybe as a gigantic floating brain with a vestigial goat.
Pretty sure we've already had that typing quite a bit before.
Psychic grass? I think we did.
That seems like one that's existed quite a bit.
Let's see. I'm gonna look that up. But yeah. Aside from them being, basically more of the same and just announcing a whole bunch of more Pokemon, they haven't announced any new mechanics or anything like that. It's just, here is an open area, here's a bunch more Pokemon, give us cash.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Celebi was Psychic Grass, so we already have a Psychic Grass legendary.
Celebi was Psychic Grass, yeah. And
so
it's small and cute.
And there's Execute Executor. There was...
That's it, Execute and Executor.
Yeah, those are probably the reason I'm associating Psychic Grass together.
Long-necked.
No,
long-necked
that's
Executor.
Grass Dragon.
Oh. It's a dragon. That's the one that it becomes, right? It's dragon.
It's a dragon, yeah.
Does that stupid thing become... Yeah, it is Grass Dragon. How about that?
Yeah, because reasons, I guess. I at least like the idea of the regional variants. It seems a little bit lazy, but...
Yeah. Sometimes we got really new Pikaman out of it. This is one point in Sword and Shield's favor. I do like some of the regional variants.
It was Sun and Moon's idea.
But yeah, it wasn't this game's idea. But yeah, Ponyta, it has a really cool looking regional variant, I thought.
It gets fabulous, yeah.
Yeah, just the most fabulous Ponyta.
Yeah. It does, however, make looking things up by their Pokedex entry a real headache.
Is that the one that's basically Celestia?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. It's the Galarian Ponyta. I'll post
it's
links.
Psychic Fairy, by the way.
Yeah. That's Galarian Ponyta.
That's Galarian Ponyta. So it's fabulous. So I'm
Holy
honestly,
cow, that Meowth is terrifying.
The long cat.
No, the Berserker one.
Oh yeah, it basically evolves into a cat Viking.
I think I sent you a picture of the Galarian Meowth when I first saw it.
It's
grinning. It doesn't look very unhappy. It doesn't look very happy. It looks like it's been crossbred with Gengar.
Its neck balls jiggle the whole time.
They do. It's disturbing.
That's strange.
Very. So, honestly, I might get these expansions at some point, but considering how flat Sword and Shield fell, I'm not enthused about it.
I'm not. I view this entirely cynically. I think they're doing this just a money grub, and that means we're going to get lower quality products in the future. I can't support those. Yeah. I'm going to do everything I can not to give them money.
Yeah, this actual article actually misquotes it. It says 200 Pokemon that will be reintroduced. No, that's not the case.
Unlocked by a 16k key.
some of those will be reintroduced, but there's also going to be first parties because Sakurai, I forget his name now. Master, I think it was, confirmed that the legendaries and the fighting one are included in that number. So that's new and regional variants included in that 200. So you're not going to get, if you're banking on these 200 to include your favorite, the odds are against you.
Yeah.
How many Pokemans are there in total now?
800 something?
No, it's over 1,000 now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, hang on. Let me see. actually.
I stopped. There are very few post Gen 2 Pikaman that I care about, so.
Yeah. Let me see. Indeedee is 876. I believe it's actually lower than that. 866 for Mr. Rhyme. Hang on. I think it might be if I look it up here. There we go. 893 different species, not including... Oh, that's counting regional variants as a single species.
That probably doesn't count Mega Evolutions, though. So
no, it doesn't. It's just species.
Basically their own Pikaman, so...
So I believe there's about 60 regional variants now, or something like that. Maybe a few less. And then, yeah, Megas on top of that.
Do we count the Infattened Pikaman as new Pikaman? No, they're not.
They're not.
They're just the same fat Pikaman.
Some of the Megas you could just count as a fat version of a regular one. Other ones, because of that they change ability, they change typing. It's a completely different strategy. You just count that as a different one.
Well, the only one that really doesn't fit in being its new Pikaman is Mega Kangaskhan.
Mega Kangaskhan doesn't fit in anything. It just smash.
All the other ones are different in more than enough ways to count as new Pikaman, practically. Mega Kangaskhan is just two Kangaskhan.
It's just two Kangaskhans. All right. So, yeah, underwhelming, kind of bleh. I was honestly actually, because the Pokemon announcements were done before the Smash, I was expecting them to just slap a Smash character at the end of it if it was going to be a Pokemon. Honestly, though, I think people are going to be wanting to forget Generation 8 as soon as possible. All right. Other bits of news. There's only a couple of other little bits. We're getting the first bits from E3 already. Sony's pulled out.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the main reason for that, like, after really thinking about it, it's just to do with the fact that E3 is, in particular, is too expensive to go to, because the only advantage of it is that there is an outside chance that they'll get to do something again like they did at the start of this current console generation, where the only thing they had to do was walk out on stage and, you know, say, no bullcrap, $100 cheaper, go. That scenario is the only thing that can justify what it costs to go to E3, because it is hideously expensive.
Yeah.
To attend E3.
Nintendo figured it out years ago. Instead of going to E3, why not just... we've already got our trailers prepped. Let's just stand Reggie or someone in front of a white wall and record them talking for 10 minutes.
I mean, the thing is that you are trading something away when you don't go to E3, because E3 does draw attention.
Mm-hmm.
But what the main cause, I think, is to directly lock horns with your competitors.
It definitely used to be that.
There's no advantage to Nintendo doing that, since they aren't in direct competition with the rest of the market most of the time.
Yep. Like, the last really good shot across the bows we had along that vein was at the start, the announcement of the Xbox One. Because
that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
When they said that they were, you know, the only thing that they needed to do was to you know, overturn what Microsoft had done.
Yeah.
And they won't have that opportunity in the same sort of way without being at E3, because you aren't getting placed directly side by side with them. Like, the effectiveness of that pitch was due to the proximity.
Yes.
And I think that they know that they are weaker. They've recognized that they were weaker this next time around, because their strategy has become differentiated from Microsoft's, because Microsoft are really pushing their Game Pass thing.
Yes.
Everything about them is accessibility across multiple platforms, getting as many games as possible on as many different platforms as possible, all tied into their pass. Whereas Sony have chosen the very, very traditional route of pursuing exclusives.
Yeah.
So there's very few ways for Sony, if they went and appeared alongside Microsoft, to avoid PS Plus getting compared to the Game Pass. because they operate in radically different ways.
Yes.
And the optics will make the PlayStation offering look weaker because they probably won't be able to bring enough exclusives to the table this year in order to offset that.
If anything, this year is all going to be announcing big consoles and big unveils, but I doubt we're going to see too much in the way of games, at least from Microsoft and Sony.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a situation of both sides attempting to justify their approach to the new technology.
Yeah. At least backwards compatibility seems to be back on the table for everyone.
Yeah, although they're taking different strategies for that as well, really. I mean, basically, Microsoft is just making their old catalog available on the PC and on their console at the same time. So they're expanding what you get for investing in Microsoft's products. Whereas, again, Sony is going the traditional route of simply grafting all of the hardware and software of the previous generations into their new system.
I would love to be able to play my PS3 games again.
Yeah, so would I. There's a lot of stuff I want to replay. PS2 games as well, though. I don't know if they're going to manage to pull that one off.
That'd be nice, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that one.
The pitch that they were hoping for was to have the entire library back to the PSX all work, but it's rough to do. The question was basically a matter of resources, whether or not they decide to opt for the heavy development burden of integrating the cell processor architecture emulation or the emotion engine architecture emulation, both of which were really atypical processors. So I don't know which one they went for in the end, but I would say it's probably the PS3 will be the one that makes the cut.
Yeah. Going back further, you're starting to involve a lot more technological hurdles to jump over.
More to the point, though, there's more money in re-releasing PS2 games than there is in PS3 games because the market still has PS3 games floating around in it.
Yes. Whereas my cupboard has PS2 games floating around in it.
Yeah, and there's stuff I want to play again, and I can't.
Yeah. One of these days, though, I would like to actually go and finish Legend of Dragoon, if they ever do put PS1 backwards compatibility on there.
I'm straight up too scared to stick my PS2 discs into my PS2 because it already ate one of my discs once. I'm afraid of what will happen. I'm already afraid of what will happen if I try again. So,
ooh, Shadow Hearts, got to play that too. Damn it! Now I'm thinking of all the PS2 games I want to play again. All right. So yeah, where were we? E3. E3 this year has already come out and announced that they're going to be doing a major overhaul of how they're working, focusing more on influencers.
Yeah, I know it galls me that might be effective.
Yeah, unfortunately,
because most of those people are. I'm not impressed by them. We'll just say
no. As business people, as general human beings, I'm less than impressed. Alright, so yeah, E3, I think this year is just going to be a complete wash. Like, you watch everyone's announcements during the year. I'm not even sure if everyone's going to cluster around it again this year. It might be a bit more spread out.
Yeah, there's not really... There is a certain advantage to being nearby, but there's also... I think that increasingly there's an advantage to divorcing yourself from it.
Yeah. Like EA last year, it was, we're totally not at E3. We're just on the roof of a building across the street.
But I think that the influencers thing is going to go the same way. Like influencers, they are not merely only human, but they are also like the dregs of the online society as well. So they are going to do something that eventually one or more of them will do something that you don't want your brand associated with.
I'm expecting it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because they've already had a dry run of that last time with that guy who was doing, what was he was just live streaming everything, and then he walked into the bathroom and the camera followed him there, and he got in a huge amount of trouble over it because filming inside a bathroom is illegal.
Okay, didn't know that.
In California.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just they decided it was easier to have a blanket law. I think it was California, a blanket law about not having video recording taking place in bathrooms. Period.
Yeah.
So that anybody...
You can cover a lot of things doing that, so I suppose.
Yeah. But regardless, like, that created quite a scandal at the time, and that was, as far as anybody can tell, that was basically reckless negligence. Like, they weren't attending to the fact that they had to respect that they can't film everywhere. But
we had one mid last year. It was influencers promoting a completely made up dietary supplement that contained cyanide. The whole thing was put together like it was blindingly obvious if you took 3 seconds to research the product that it was going to cause horrific death in anyone.
We live in a society where the dihydrogen monoxide hoax took.
What was the term that actually coined? Zoanism or something?
Say again?
The term it actually coined. It was Zoanism or something like that.
I don't know.
Named after the student who actually conducted that experiment.
But, yeah, I think that we're going to start to see a cycle of people appealing to quote influencers, unquote, to promote their products, followed by a backpedaling and disavowal of them as soon as they manage to indict themselves as a scummy human being.
Yeah, like, you can go to just about any influencer and somewhere you will find an incredibly cringy apology video for doing something really dumb.
Yeah, sometimes they have incredibly cringy apology videos for things that they need not really have apologized for, but a lot of the time they do have some skeleton in their closet.
Yeah, it's like we promoted this product that is going to actively kill people because we didn't do our research because we're absolute cretins. Anyway, have some integrity, people. So yeah, E3 this year I think is just going to be an absolute wash.
Yeah, I always forget it's even a thing that's coming up these days.
Yeah, like the last big E3 was the one where the Xbone was announced and the PS4 wasn't far behind. After that, it's really just kind of gone downhill. There's been no shots across the bows. There's been no reacting to competitors on stage or anything like that. It's just been, here's a bunch of crappy trailers for games that are going to be terrible. So yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I don't even think I'll be actually watching E3 this year. We'll see what happens.
I haven't watched it live. Well, that's not true. I watched some of it live 2 years ago, but it's very rare that I watch any of it live these days.
Yeah, if it's going to be an endless parade of either influencers or companies pandering and shilling to influencers, then there's nothing to be gained by watching it. You just watch the trailers and that's it. If there even are trailers at E3 this year.
Maybe we'll see the fabled, mythical live gameplay demo that's actually live gameplay.
That doesn't exist.
No, that they would have to be on their way to actually finishing the game that they're going to release complete for that to be a thing.
Yeah, this is live gameplay by paid actors. Nobody talks like that in any of those videos. It's always embarrassing.
Well, I mean, even when they blow up, at least it was like remember when Command & Conquer tried it with the phone game? that worked as a great, just neon red sign to the audience that said, "Don't buy this game.
Don't buy this game."
As soon as you said Command & Conquer, I just heard the word spice.
Spice. Unfortunately, all we get these days instead of spice is at least, I don't know, maybe EA's learned their lesson. They're actually going to not ruin the remake.
They better not. The only people that are even looking at that are people that are already ready to, drop them off a cliff for what they've done to that franchise.
They should not be forgiven for that mobile game.
They shouldn't be forgiven for Command & Conquer 4.
No, what? That doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Tiberium Wars was the last Command & Conquer game.
Yes, it was, and it's still being sold for like $40 on Steam. Why?
I forgot there was a fourth one. Was that the one that had that like weird alien race in it?
No, that was Tiberium Wars, and the fourth one was the one where you like could pick up your base and move it.
Yeah, but as a result, it kind of gimped the base building mechanic entirely.
Well, I never really liked the base building in Command and Conquer because they had that weird thing about not being able to build more than 3 centimeters from your construction yard.
Yeah, that was always annoying.
Oh, that was Nod. Yeah, Nod had that was the coils.
So yeah, I don't know. EA's released a good game lately, so maybe they've learned something. We shall see. Next announcement. GameStop holiday sales have declined by 27% over this last holiday season.
Yeah, we know.
People still go to those?
Apparently. I actually walked into an EB while I was down in Brisbane, and I looked around, and there was absolutely nothing I really wanted to actually look at.
That's where I did all my...
Well, you have bargain bins. We don't have bargain bins because gamers are not associated with the concept of bargains. But
Australia we have bargain bins, but it's in giant air quotes.
Yeah, bargains like, you know, higher than full price.
Or you can buy 20 years ago FIFA.
Yeah, for the price of the newest FIFA.
Yes.
But I go past them with, you know, reasonable regularity. I don't go there deliberately, but they're typically empty, bar from maybe like a shop attendant and one person.
They've got a lot of stuff in there.
No, they have a lot of Funko Pops in there.
Well, they have a lot of Funko Pops in there, yeah.
I was walking around the mall, and we walked into a GameStop for whatever reason today when I was with my internet friends that came to visit, and I couldn't see the Funko Pops. But no, some fat dude was just standing in front of the whole shelf, and as soon as he moved, the whole wall was covered in Funko Pops.
He must have been very fat.
He was.
So, okay, I will be fair. I saw one thing I would be considered buying, which was the Super Ultra Mega Deluxe Edition of Disgaea 5. It's called A Promise for Sardines. I mean, yes, please. Put that on my Switch.
4?
4, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, but say, not 5.
Not 5. 5 was, eh.
Oh, 5 was okay, but it wasn't 4.
It definitely wasn't 3.
In 5?
Yes, you can.
Can you do? Yeah, you can with the DLC.
You can get everyone, including Mao for some reason.
No, they nerfed Tyrant Valvatorez to the ground.
They had to, otherwise they'd ruin the game.
His pass is busted.
Completely. He's supposed to be busted, though. It's kind of his thing.
Yeah. If you kill an enemy with Tyrant Valvatorez, that enemy becomes your ally for 3 turns.
Yep.
At full health.
Have a zombie.
And then dies at the end of those 3 turns.
Mm-hmm. And this is why you use it on Prinnies.
Yes, actually. That is exactly why you use it on Prinnies. For double explosions.
Double explosions. So, alright, so yeah, like, it's sad, but the whole brick and mortar thing is kind of definitely a relic of the past.
I'm really having a lot more trouble adjusting to brick and mortar disappearing than I would like to admit.
Honestly, so am I. Although because I've lived out in the middle of nowhere for a long time, it's been not as hard. It's actually been nice for my end of things because I don't need to drive for an hour and a half to go to a game shop. I just buy everything online, buy it all digital.
I think that I probably went into an actual brick and mortar store twice last year. And it was only out of morbid curiosity.
Yeah, that's why I wandered in there when I was in Brisbane. I didn't end up buying anything, but yeah.
So, yeah, even when I could just go on Amazon, buy the physical copy pre-order for some game I'm looking forward to, have it mailed to my house, and be there in the mail when I get home from work that day, I've still instinctively told it to deliver to the nearest game store so I can go drive up and get it.
I'm actually really enjoying having Amazon available at the moment because I get a turnaround delivery of 4 days if I buy something in Australia. That's unheard of here. Normally it's 2 weeks if I buy something in Australia. If I buy it from the States, it's 2 months.
I keep forgetting that Vic's responsible for Mao.
He shall be forgiven. Maybe a little bit. Probably not.
Mao is a pretty heinous crime. Although it's not his fault.
It is not his fault. The writing was awful.
The writing had some good gags in it.
It has some good gags.
It's just Mao was bad.
Mao was terrible.
It's just whoever was doing that plot put Mao as the center.
They shouldn't
and
have.
Mao's awful. Mao is just awful.
Put Raspberry in the center or something. I don't know. Anyone but
Mao.
Mao.
It's telling that Mao is so unpopular that Raspberry and Sapphire make more guest appearances in Disgaea-related games than Mao does.
They do. Even Fenrir, I think, gets more.
Maybe. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. Anywho, I think that's about it for this week. Unless you want to talk about Nisa.
There is one. It needs to be addressed quickly.
Okay.
But I don't want to get into it too terribly much because it's really a much smaller story than people are making it out to be. It's still bad. I'm not going to try and defend this.
Well, I mean, I hope that it's just people's fears running away with them and it's not going to deploy in as spectacular a way as people are worried it will.
Yeah.
So they had some people on the stream that clearly have left-leaning Gucci-ness going on. And they're talking, and the Nisa people are... Well, the important part here is they make the Trail series now. They have got the license from Xseed now that Xseed has gone full ham with Shinron Kagura and doesn't have time to translate anything else.
Mm-hmm.
They had announced on a live stream recently that they do stuff like, whether it's a joke or not, we have to make sure that all the text matches make sense in the culture. Sometimes the Japanese jokes will be of a different value set than we have. We do work around things that might be a little bit sexist in Japanese and try to make it culturally appropriate for audiences. So full red flag language here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was scary. So the first thing that everybody did was flip out.
Yep.
In the case of verbiage like this, that is understandable. I totally get you.
The history is there to cause that reaction, yes.
Yeah, Nisa has a bad reputation for doing it as well.
Yeah. So, and the translation work in Cold Steel 3, as soon as you get out of the main story, is quite bad. The menu, some of the items in the menus just have flat wrong translations.
Ew.
Like, we've known that. That was, acceptable to get Cold Steel localized at all. So we just kind of took it. But it turns out all the stuff they're talking about is stuff that would be related to story and character. The only things that got hit really hard in the script, from what people that have been meticulously comparing and contrasting ever since this announcement came out, or this little Twitch stream they did came out, are stuff that relate to the very young characters and any sexual situations that revolve around them.
Yeah.
Those are the only topics that got really just completely gutted.
Yeah, it's understandable to do those ones.
Because you can't sell the video game in some countries if you don't gut those.
Precisely.
So, yeah, there are lolly jokes in there with, like, Altina and stuff.
Yeah. Let's face it, it is freaking creepy.
Yeah, and they're played for comedy. Those of us that understand that that's a part of Japanese culture understand it's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
But the media at large will not. And as we know, games journalists don't play video games, so they don't have they probably think this is them covering legitimate pedophiles or something, as they kidnap young children and lock them in their basement at home. Because that's what game journalists do. I'm not kidding.
I know.
It's like pretty much all of the moderation staff at NeoGAF got done for pedophilia at some point.
Yeah, that was fairly recent too, wasn't it? Well, one of the occasions where that happened was fairly recent.
Yeah. So, in terms of Cold Steel 3, we did dodge a bullet on that one. It seems like this rhetoric was just a virtue signal for as far as this game is concerned, rather than to be what they did in practice.
Yeah.
Because the Trail series fans would lynch them if they changed the Trail story in any way.
Yeah. Like there is reasons to change things that are, genuinely offensive and not just offensive to the woke crowd.
Well, even then, I don't support this censorship. I think it on principle should not be done. But I can understand the business decision where somebody goes, if we don't change this, we can't sell this.
Exactly.
In some areas.
Yeah.
I can understand that line of thinking.
Yeah. Other occasions is if you translate something and the joke just does not work in English. Which happens quite a bit.
a lot of people will pretend they know a lot about translating, or they have watched enough anime to get some Japanese words in their memory, and they will see it doesn't match up with what's on screen, and oftentimes they're completely wrong because all they've done is flip the paragraphs around as they appear on screen because the word structure and order needs to be fixed for English.
Yeah, the grammar is completely different.
Yeah, so this isn't a case of that, though. This is them saying they legitimately changed content, but in practice, all they changed was that type of jokes around younger cast members.
Yeah. So for everyone out there who's freaking out about it, cool your jets.
Well, no, don't cool your jets. I think this is a good thing to call people out on. They need to get mad, and Nisa needs to get the message.
I think that it's needful. Like, as everybody who listens to the show long term knows, I'm a huge fan of the Exapico games, which are the ones like Art and Alico and that. And the reason why Koei localizes them in-house now is because they got wind of what Nisa had planned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and Nisa needs to be called out on this. I am worried after this rhetoric for Cold Steel 4. Cold Steel 3 is pretty okay, but in general, Cold Steel 3 is the weakest game in the Trails series so far.
Well, what is the time frame for Cold Steel 4?
Hasn't even been announced yet.
Right. So basically, there's a huge amount of space in between now and then for cultural drift. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It could turn out that, battle lines in the culture get drawn and it gets completely ruined because they decide that it's more important to virtue signal than anything else. On the other hand, things could ease off as more and more of the public realize that, this whole progressive political correctness thing has been a complete boondoggle and it's not important for anybody that lives in the real world.
Yeah.
And in that situation, I think that they won't advance any further than they already have. Ultimately, the only reason that they really make changes, except where it's going to contravene any particular law, is because they're arrogant. Because the reason that they work in the localization industry is because they couldn't cut it actually writing for games. So they try and leave their mark on their localization. And I know that this is the case because a lot of them have admitted that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say admitted, I don't mean guiltily, I mean smugly, that they just felt like putting their stamp on
it. They do everything smugly.
You get companies like Xseed occasionally. For the more I read about the way Xseed has handled things, and did their work on the series, I'm genuinely impressed with that company.
But the thing is that's the reason why they can't. That is also the reason why they aren't doing the localization, right? Because when you do things for the love of it, you do it better, but you also do it less efficiently.
Yeah.
Well, yes, they were very meticulous in their work, and seeing the mental breakdown of the poor translator lady, and because they published the notes she took for each line of dialogue, you can go read them on the internet in an Excel file. She just, as she gets later and later into the night, each night she's translating stuff, she just starts having a bigger and bigger mental breakdown with her postscript script checkers, making notes, commenting like, "Are you okay, honey?" And they would go back and redo full checks of the whole script multiple times, with item descriptions getting completely rechecked or redone like 7 or 8 times until it both was close enough to the Japanese to keep the original meaning, but still make sense to the English audience. They put a whole lot of work into that stuff.
Up until they broke the lady who was writing the chest text.
Yeah, they had to completely redo those because they didn't work in English at all, so they just had to write jokes from scratch.
Yeah. That's
the situation. There are very few situations where I'm even willing to accept the cultural adaptation excuse, because the way that people absorb things like idiom is by seeing them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing magical about Western culture that means that our idioms are better than the idioms that the writers used. And in most cases, when you look at what was originally there, it fits better. But the one situation where you've got no choice is when they are puns.
Yeah, puns do not work when the syntax changes.
Like one of the things where I've seen this a lot is that I picked up on the Humble Bundle thingy, a whole bunch of of ebooks from the Monogatari series.
Nice.
And every second thing in that series is a pun, pretty much. Like the anime is a surprisingly faithful adaptation of the books.
Puns.
And considering that considering Shaft being Shaft and animating the way Shaft does, like it's actually a very, very good fit for the tone of the books and the sheer eccentricity and the fact that every single conversation is Seinfeldian and goes nowhere for 5 pages. Or in the case of the book that I just finished reading, fully a third of the book is the main character arguing with his little sister about the merits of various underwear colors.
On a slightly unrelated note, I completely resent the fact that Seinfeldian is an adjective.
Yeah, I've never actually watched Seinfeld, so I don't know what it means in the specific. I just have an impression of what it means.
Yeah, it's a bad show. Actually, even worse is its follow-up, which was I forget because it was so bad.
I didn't realize there was one. Anyway, everything in there is a pun, and it's sort of interesting. Like, because when the anime was made, there were still a lot of fan subbers because there weren't really streaming services to speak of. Mm-hmm. Nobody had internet; it was good enough. So there were a variety of fan subs to choose from, and some of the fan subs, rather than trying to replace the pun, would do a direct translation and then leave a note explaining it.
Okay.
But the books, because the books are designed for general publication, they're not designed to be translations, they're designed to be sold as stories. Though I can't even imagine the audience that would read those, other than me. But
yeah, mad people.
Yeah, because the stories are pretty lewd in a lot of ways. Although not by action, merely by implication most of the time. But they've just had to straight up replace a lot of the puns, and some of them are a little bit cringy. But because most of the actual dialogue is also cringy, I can't actually tell where a lot of the replacements are.
Puns by their nature are pretty cringy, so I mean it works.
The one last night, there's lots and lots of references as well that are all the sort of contemporary references that people in our culture would use as well. Like I can't remember which one. I think it was Neko Monogatari Black. I read last night, and there was actually a thing in it where the main character was complaining in his internal monologue that he would be getting told off by Mr. Rossetti for thinking what he was thinking. But yeah, there are a lot of there is a lot of license taken, but I happen to know from having seen various fan subs of it that the writing is very, very dense on both references, idioms, and puns. So sometimes you've got no choice because puns typically don't translate by their very nature.
Yeah, and idioms rarely do as well.
It's even worse in Japanese because some of the puns are based on radicals.
Mm-hmm.
They're not based on like even double meanings. They're based on the radicals a word might be made up out of, but we don't have radicals in our words.
Nope. Which is a shame because we're missing out on another layer of puns.
I don't consider that shameful.
That's not a shame.
No. It's but yeah, to bring it back to Nisa and Xseed, like the biggest note I remember that stood out from the Xseed Excel document was just the translation of a basic octopus you can catch while fishing and the item description for it. And there were like 4 pages of across horizontally on the Excel document cells being filled out from all the various editors going over what the heck to call the octopus and how to translate its text. And at the very end, the lady who was in charge of that localization team just goes, "Guys, it's an octopus. We're wasting too much time on this. Just put anything octopus related in there." Because they just were getting too dug into the minutia of how to translate it super accurately.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to do that. Yeah, no, well.
So, the octopus is not relevant to the major point of the game. Just pick something that's close enough and pretty good that you got. But the fact that they spent 4 pages trying to refine something as simple as an octopus description, just really stuck out to me.
Something legs. I don't know.
It was like one sentence long.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we have Nisa, who has been worrying me from the beginning. And there is reason to worry about Nisa and reason to keep their feet to the fire. Because Nisa, like, there's a joke right now on the Trails Reddit that is called Restores BP, because there is a quartz that says it restores BP as you walk around the overmap, and that is not at all what it does.
Okay, what does it actually do?
It restores your action points, which are how you...
What is BP? I don't recognize it.
It's BP is
That's the like the quest completion tracking score, isn't it?
No, that's AP in the Cold Steel series.
Oh, okay.
In BP in this game is their new link attack mechanic. If you do a link attack, you build up BP and can use those as a resource towards what they call tactical orders, special abilities that don't take up a turn to grant your party a buff. And it says you can regen those by walking on the field. Is
there an item that does that?
No, that would be absurdly overpowered, relatively speaking. Because the point of those things it takes multiple fights to recharge them. Otherwise, they would just break the game.
Implying you can't always break those games.
Yeah, you can always break it, but that would, in particular, be an egregious breaking of the video game. So, yeah, but yeah, the joke is restores BP, because there are other quartz that do the exact same thing. The quartz and the items in that game are just horribly translated. And the only way I knew what some of them did was because I knew what they did in Cold Steel 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And when they were translated by Xseed correctly.
So they did not even use the previous games as a reference?
No, they brought on the people who did the Xseed translations for consultation while translating the story, but they did not take their notes on the items.
What? They don't need to take their notes. All they need to do is put a copy of the game in.
Yeah, but that's too much work.
Apparently.
Yeah, it's not unplayable bad, but there are like about 12 items where it's just like, that ain't translated right.
That's not at all what that does.
Yeah, that's not what that is or what that does.
Yeah. Anyway, we are actually quite over time, so it's probably time to start wrapping up.
Oh, I didn't even get to talk about WoW.
Save it for next week.
Yep. So, all right, folks.
Next week, because they're so unimportant. They're so unimportant to me now. I'm so glad to be free.
I'm free!
Just think of it as part of your constant, never-ending rehab.
Yeah, actually, I had a chat with our younger cab driver last night, and we were just talking about WoW's retcons. Okay, saying, "Oh, remember this law? No, that was retconned. What about this? No, retconned." So yeah,
yeah,
and also everyone hates the Illidan thing. So yeah. Anyway, let's not get bogged down onto that.
Yeah. All right, folks. Closing comments go.
As you can see, I am terrible at God Eater 3. I apologize for my badness.
I very badly want to play some video games at some point this week. I just hope I get the opportunity.
Yeah, Vigigaming would be nice. I didn't have much time either and wasted it all in Pikaman. I want it back. Yeah. I want the time I spent in Pikaman back. I feel like it was legitimately wasted.
I wouldn't quite call it wasted, but it's only just.
Well, even the negative stuff can be used in future as a reference point.
Exactly.
So, not completely wasted, but still not a fun time.
Yeah, it could have been so much better, but they half-assed it because they had absolutely no faith in the console.
Yeah, whatever their reason, they lied and now they're trying to get more money out of you.
Yeah.
So, alright, folks. Hopefully we'll have some happier news next week. A whole lot of negative this week, but
we tend to get a lot of negative because honestly, there's not a whole lot of happy.
Well, negative makes the news easier, but
true.
Yeah, assuming Virginia doesn't start the second Civil War, we'll be back next week.
Oh dear.
I'm not joking.
I know you're not, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, so we'll see. All right, folks. Bye-bye.